Good evening, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, March 3rd. Tonight we have a Planning and Zoning Commission general meeting and public hearing. We are here in Town Hall in room 119, and it's right around 7 p.m. We're going to right into the general meeting first. On the general meeting, first item on the agenda is possible appointment of a new member to fill the vacancy and possible swearing in of said member. I would like to be able to introduce the person that stepped up to possibly be a member of our commission. His name is John Cini. He forwarded a resume to everyone here. I think we got it. John and I served in the commission a while ago. The RTC endorsed him, and I would like to you to meet him. And John, if you won't mind saying a few words, that'd be great.
Stepping up is probably a strong statement, but yes. I'll make it clear, I'm here for about 7 months if you were to vote me and appoint me. Filling a vacancy that I've understood has kind of disrupted the workload of this commission. Talked with Steve and a few others. As you can see, I was on this commission a few years ago and served as chair for 3 years. No intention of getting into leadership or anything, but just filling a void on the ground running though, and so that's the goal.
Yeah, John was on the commission for what, 6 years?
6 years, and I did Board of Ed for 6 years. Just got off in November. Prior to that, I was on the RTM, and we had a pretty busy P&Z schedule back in the day 6 years ago, and I think I've listed some of those in what I could send you guys. But I think the message is I hope I can fill that empty seat until they can, whoever steps up and is elected in November, and that's kind of my goal.
Yeah, it will be an open seat in November of this year. That connects it since Mike actually has 2 years left in his term, but the way the election cycle works, it's an open seat and then the person has 1 year on it. So I appreciate you, John, stepping up. I have your resume and whatnot. I've read it. I know a lot about it. Does anybody have any questions, comments, things you want to add to this?
It's good of John to step up and serve some more.
Appreciate that.
Serve plenty.
Thank you very much. Just for the record, we did the same thing when George was appointed, when Amy was appointed, Jim Ryan. It's pretty much the same thing. Some other commissions and whatnot's go into executive session. We've never done that since 1989 or 2019 that I can remember. So with that said, you're good, right?
Yep.
Anyone make a motion?
Motion to appoint John.
Is there a second for that?
I'll make a second.
We have a second?
If you make a second.
You're a second. All in favor of appointing John to the commission? That's 5-0. Welcome, sir.
I gotta get sworn in. I think
We're gonna warm in. We might have a chair for you.
Appreciate it.
Does he have a name tag? You dust it
We're
off?
gonna have
No,
one
we
by
don't need that.
next week, we'll have one. We gotta,
You chucked his
no,
off.
we didn't check it, we'll find it.
Says you can't come back home.
Exactly. All right, we all raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that you will faithfully discharge according to law your duties as a member of the Darien Planning and Zoning Commission to the best of your abilities, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
You're all set.
I will.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Oh, yeah,
All right. We can move on while John's taking his signatures and signing stuff away. The next item on the agenda is Town Planner Conservation and Development. Discussion with H&H, also known as Hoyt Street Hanover. Neil is here, who's our consultant doing that. What we asked for is a workshop to discuss what we want in the Town Planner Conservation Development. So if this is going to be like a working meeting, we can have the community participate if we want to, but not really, right?
Yeah, I think what we were doing, the goal of this, which was a good idea, I think it was George's idea, is we heard from the public, and Neil went to 20 or 30 different meetings, but as George acknowledged, you never really heard from the commission in terms of what is the direction we're going now, or have been going, or some of the concepts that the town has been developed under. Do we want to stick with those concepts, move in a different direction, more flexible, less flexible? So what I tried to do is work with Neil and Fred on concepts, ideas, things that the commission has been doing for many years, and say, is this where we want to continue to go? George had some other really good ideas that we should discuss as a group in terms of, are these the things we want to do? If so, Neil can put them in the plan, and if not, they won't go in the plan. But it's an opportunity for commission members to say, you know what, I like this, or don't like this, and the advantage is, Fred and I hear from constituents, you hear from a ton of constituents on what people like, what people don't like, and your residents of the town, obviously, who you're like, that turned out okay, what can we do to do more of this or less of that? So, put together a memo, I don't know if we want to start with George's or start with the first, either way, but we
What I
can
was
certainly
gonna
get
do,
through
I
it.
was gonna give a quick overview.
Sure.
At the second, can I have another copy of your memo, because I think I missed a lot.
George's here.
No, I have George's, I don't have Jeremy's, okay, cool. What I wanna say, and I guess I'm really talking to you in the most part, and I apologize for coming back to you, but, I think what we've done in Darien in the 12 or 15 years that I've been on the commission is pretty good. I would also say it's kind of excellent. We have great leadership staff in-house, and we've introduced a lot of new development over the last 10 years. It really started, the planning of it started about 16, 17 years ago. My overriding view of life is, let's not reinvent the wheel. We're not really looking to change anything significantly. We're not gonna, say, okay, we're gonna allow 12-story high-rises all over town. And not really, we also don't wanna go back. I think what you do wanna do is you wanna keep up with the times in terms of really technology is the big thing. And that rides into, and we talked about this years and years ago about driverless cars and Ubers and all that stuff, which creates traffic. At one point in time, there was traffic studies that traffic was supposed to go down because of all these driverless cars and things of that nature. You also have to plan really for electric cars and bicycles and things that are coming more natural. And we're not, I'm not gonna say we're really a leader in all this stuff, but we do follow the lead. A lot of some of these concepts, and even outdoor dining, has been rampant in Europe for decades. Bicycles in Europe and little mini motor scooters guys run around in Europe and around the world for decades. So those are things I think you have to keep up with the times with. The one thing that I do want to, that I think we took it out of the town plan 10 years ago, and I would like to put it back in, we have not talked about it, is there is no zoning for hotels in the town of Darien. The New Canaan has a thing called the Roger Sherman Inn, which is a beautiful bed and breakfast that everybody loves. There's another hotel that's similar, there's two of those, one's in Southport, that's beautiful, Greenwich has got a great one, downtown Westport has a small boutique hotel. The last time we did this and dug down deep into it, we specifically took hotels out of the zoning plan. Something that I would like to see put back in some way, shape, or form. And where it's gonna go, who knows? I'm not the foggiest idea, but I don't think it's something that should be excluded in town. The other thing that I think that's important is we did affordable housing in a big picture. We did, I would call it intellectual housing or intellectually disabled housing. We have zoning codes for active senior housing. We kind of sort of tried to do 55 and over housing. We really don't have that at all in town. There might be one or two. Kensett was supposed to be age targeted, and Kensett's what? How old's Kensett now? 10 years?
More than that, 20.
Yeah, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Remember, I worked on the appraisal
And
years
switched to
ago.
Everly, that was about the 20-year mark.
Yeah. And then Kensett 2, the other piece, I think that is 55 and over, if my memory's correct. It's not? We didn't do that at all? Okay. But I think that's something that we do have to.
Kansas 15 years, 15.
Yeah.
I think it's 15.
and then the second piece is less than that, because everyone would both land. But I think that's something we do have to put in town. The 63 and over is there's 2 spots, sort of pending glass marriage, 63 and over, and I forget what 333 West Avenue is. So that's the things that I think about, and make it market rate, because from what I've been told, the people that live inside 16 Palmerton, which is 77 Leroy, although it is a quote-unquote 830G building and it's 16 units and it's a lot of housing, it is 63 and over. Everybody that lives in that building loves it for the fact that there are really no kids and no strollers that run you over. And it's a tiny, tiny building, but it's a different concept. So that's what I wanted to look at as an overview. If you want to talk about your list, Jeremy, that would be great. And then maybe we can go into George's, because it's really, this meeting is workshop for the 6 of us
Yep.
to tell Neil, not Neil to tell
Yeah,
us.
I certainly have ideas.
Fantastic. You can go ladies first. You can go.
Well, Jeremy, can I take a half step back?
Sure.
So my name is Neil Desai, Principal Planner at H&H, and especially for those who are tuning in, at DarienPOCD.com, I posted a midwinter update, and essentially, and I'm glad I didn't call it early spring because it really ended up being midwinter. But anyways, that's besides the point. But I just want to know, we're in the thick of writing the drafts of the chapters of the plan, and on the website you can see just the kind of the working table of contents we have. And we've worked on the transportation chapter draft. We submitted it to the department and the commission and got comments, and we just submitted today the environmental chapter. And really, these questions come at the right time because the next chapter is what we're calling right now the built environment chapter, which is essentially going to cover a lot of land use and zoning topics. And so, we could have either just gone and started writing that with our own recommendations, which they could have agreed or disagreed with, but we're going to start with some of these questions that are kind of key on this discussion list to help us inform that. And as a note, we spoke with many different committees. I guess several of them that are most pertinent to the discussions about land use or the architectural review board. I mean, actually everybody had something to say about land use and zoning generally, but I think the architectural review board and others. So I just wanted to put that there as a brief context for anybody tuning in. And I'll put a schedule up once we finalize the schedule of when the next, when the final kind of first draft is posted for public view and that sort of thing. So we'll be doing that.
I would expect that to be tweaking the schedule that come out later this month would be my guess.
Yeah, okay.
We post it later this month.
Thank you, Neil. Jeremy, you want to start us off, sir?
Sure. I started with commercial zones because Darien for many, many years has had, I'll call it a hierarchy, where the central business district, which is downtown, extending basically from the sports shop to, let's call it 800 Post Road, which is the corner of Sedgwick and Post, allows the most development, most horizontally, because there's no setbacks, and vertically as well, because it allows 3, 4, or even in one case, 5-story buildings. That's always been the way it has. For David Genovese's Corbin project, the commission changed the zoning to allow 1 5-story building right in the middle of his project there, but the rest of downtown 2 or 3 stories. We'll talk more about that later. Then relative to the other commercial zones, we have the design business zone, which is to the east of Sedgwick Avenue, going eastbound to basically, I think it's Birch, plus or minus, and then west, I'll call it east of Birch, is the service business zone. There's a number of service business zones, and those are essential to Darien because those are the places, the types of uses you really don't want in your downtown. When you're walking with your family, eating an ice cream cone on a Saturday, you don't want to walk into a car wash or mechanics or a lumber yard. Those are better for lots that need more space, outdoor storage, outdoor display. By their very nature, they're going to be louder, noisier, gas stations, as we said, florists. So if you think of Nielsen's Florist or Gardner Center or Springdale, those are all service business zones. And those, as I said, serve a very important purpose in Darien. We don't want those to be in downtown. but we still want those in town. I know for a while, there was even a lawnmower repair guy in the service business. So the types of things you need to have in a community. But there's always a lot of pressure on that service business zone, because especially in the Norwalk end of things, you can see what's going on in Norwalk. Their retail is right on the border, so they have Costco, Walmart, Target, on and on and on it goes, but they don't really have a condensed downtown because they've let all their retail spread out all over the place. So Darien has been, for many years, very strict on downtown. There was a little bit of a loosening when we talk about banks. How do we treat banks, especially banks with drive-throughs? That's automobile related. You don't really want that downtown. So there was a little flexibility in banks with an emphasis on drive-throughs allowed in the service business zone. So is talking a little bit about that. Steve covered the topic of hotels and motels. There used to be, I think, 2 hotels on Ledge Road, one where Atria is, one next to the dump. There used to be, when we did the last town plan, there was the DoubleTree in Norwalk, which has since turned into Costco expansion.
Garage.
The back of the garage that faces the post office. Great. Talking a little bit about residential zoning, we have, for many, many, many years, had a very strict building height of 30 feet in all single-family residential zones, R2 to R1/5. Norotan Bay even has that 30-foot maximum, with one of the unique parts of Norotan Bay being everyone's in the flood zone, so they do lose some feet to get themselves at least a foot above the flood elevation. So you'll see the houses in Norotan Bay, generally, they're not allowed to have a basement because they're in the flood zone, but they usually don't have an attic as well because they've lost that footage at the bottom.
There's 33 feet, I thought we made it 33 feet.
I don't know, I know we may have talked about 33 when we created the Norotan Bay zone. I know the ZBA has traditionally been very strict on saying, whatever the height reg is, you have to live with it. But there is a lot of, as you all know, a lot of development pressure. People want more height, more bulk, less setbacks, etc. We've talked about additional height in the flood zones. Certainly some people, some properties, if you will, the flood elevation may be 14, but the street level might be 7. So you're starting off at 7 feet in the air, or 8 feet in the air. It becomes tough to give those people the same 30 feet you're giving everyone else, because then they would be 7 feet above that. But again, that question has come up every now and then for the past few years. Building coverage has generally been 20%. We've held it at 20. There's been some tweaks in how we define things like air conditioners and other things for coverage. For example, solar panels on the roof we don't count because they're already on a building, but solar panels on the ground. Little tweaks like that go through the years. But we've held strong at 20% coverage. What we do not have is what we have in commercial zones, a developed site area. A maximum of not only building, but a maximum of other pavement, patios, driveways, things like that don't count towards coverage, but they allow people to put more impervious surface on their property. So that's something we've talked about. In Greenwich, they have what's called a floor area ratio, which is a very complex way to limit the size of someone's house. It's very complex because you have to have an architect determine what the numbers are in terms of square footage, and so that's something we have to find that right balance between making it simple for the public, engineers, architects, designers, builders, to understand what we're trying to do, simple for the commission and staff to understand, but try to still regulate in the meantime. So it's finding that balance. We talked a little bit about cluster housing, which is 333 West Avenue, which was, I think it was 6 building lots at the time, which is right near, just to the west of Patton Drive on West Avenue. There were 6 small building lots that they rearranged and put 6, I won't say small houses, but smaller houses clustered together with some open space around it. It was a very unique circumstance. It worked out very well. It's gotten a lot of good reviews, and it's just trying to replicate that somewhere else. Would be great, just finding the right spot for something like that. We've always struggled with zoning boundaries that split lots. The commission's general consensus has been, we'll allow you to move the lines as long as it's not creating a new building lot for someone. But just to fix the lines up a little bit, that traditionally is the commission has said okay to. The commission has also tried to minimize rezonings to create large increases in density or development. As I put in here, the caveat, unless specifically required by the state of Connecticut, which won't surprise me if we see more and more of the state telling us how to divide up properties. We saw a bill that was just discussed this week, in fact. ADUs, I think, personally, if you ask me, I think it's been very successful. We'll talk more about that next week as we go through which ones have been approved, where they've been approved, what size they are, et cetera, what the response has been. I know the commission wanted to talk about reviewing those every year or two, but it has got a very nice response from the public. Not everyone has been allowed to do them for a variety of reasons. It doesn't fit. The building you have doesn't meet the setbacks, whatever it is, but we've got about 15 of them, so we'll talk about that. Subdivision regulations, we don't talk about those a lot in Darien because Darien's been pretty much subdivided out. There is a 10% open space requirement. Many developments go above that. There is no going below that. Many builders and developers do not like providing the 10%, but it does give a little more space around the development, if you will. There is a bonus, if you will, which we'll talk about, I think it's next week, about not conventional subdivision, conservation subdivision under section 840, where you can make lots a little smaller, provide more open space. So that has worked well. We don't see a lot of those.
Don't you also have to have an affordable lot if you do a 5-lot subdivision?
That's correct. That's the way we created it. It has not happened.
Can you say
Yeah.
that again?
If you have a 5-lot subdivision,
Yep.
one of them has to be affordable.
Yeah.
When we created the inclusionary regulation.
That goes for, multifamily housing, which is technically apartments and also houses on others. And the 10%, that kicks in when? That's
When
on
you're
2 lots.
3 or more lots.
3 or more lots.
3 or more lots, which would be a subdivision. On to the next page, we talked about, you've all been to the intersection of, we'll call it Sedgwick and Old Kings Highway, right near Old Kings Market, that little, what looks like a well, kind of a roundabout. It kind of, not quite a full roundabout, but it just makes it work. It works there. It's not an overdeveloped, but we've talked for many years. I remember when Don Anderson was the chief of police, finding the right spot for a roundabout. You gotta get it so it doesn't slow down traffic, so people kind of understand how it works. I know we talked about, once the Corbin project is over, the potential of doing another small one at the intersection of Corbin and Old Kings Highway South. So next time you're in that area, take a look. It's right near your office, where the intersection's a little too big. Whether that will change once you get more people in there, I don't know. It's something that we're gonna monitor and see, you know what, maybe there is a way to loop around
Are you talking about the Corbin's spot?
Corbin and Old Kings Highway South.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would
Right
work
before you go under the bridge.
Yeah.
under the bridge or turn left to go downtown.
It's not, but it's kind of sort of one at Corbin and Token, at sort of Old Kings Highway South and Tokenique Road.
Yeah,
It's like
kind
a
of that
triangle
same,
in the middle there.
something that slows traffic down. You don't need a lot of stop signs. You want to keep people, like at Old Kings Highway in Sedgwick. If no one's around, you'll just keep moving and moving. But if someone's around, you know, okay, let's, so.
Well, right, on that one right now, there's no stop sign if you're going westbound, so you can just zip around it, and then people on Sedgwick have to stop, and people coming eastbound have to stop.
Yeah,
It's
I
confusing.
think there needs to be all stops or no stops.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're looking like, is this guy stop? So it's something to be fine too.
I think that also dovetails into the conversation about gateway entrances in
Yeah,
town.
very much so.
I think
Yeah.
that's an opportunity to pronounce or announce you're going into the downtown. And I think that area to kind of make that more of like,
More prominent, if you will.
you're about to enter in Corbin District, I think there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
To do something good there.
I'll call it branding or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, yeah. One thing we talk about when we do, if you will, mandatory referrals, which are reports by the commission on purchase or sales of land or sewer extensions, we always say, what does the town plan talk about? So I did want to put in here that the sewer commission at this point has no sanitary sewer extensions, from the pun, in the pipeline. They're not working on any projects, they're working more on drainage than sanitary sewer. But what they do is allow people to come to the sewer commission, put forth a proposal that they, I'll call it a developer's proposal, that whether or not to extend. Does the commission want to talk about no more sewer extensions, more sewer extensions? There's, we've seen that with sewer extensions, the last one, to me, the most visible one was probably about 20 years ago when we ran the sewer down Long Neck Point Road. The contractor vehicles have not left in 20 vehicles that just moved up and down the street. Because in the old days, one of your constraints on a 1 acre lot was the septic system. And once that disappears, you can see
Yeah.
not room to grow.
Yes.
Going to line 43, we talked about briefly when we set the inclusionary housing requirement, it was 14%. Some people say it's a little too high, some people say it's a little too low. Something to think about.
But it was 10, it went to 12, and then went to
Well,
15.
it wasn't anything. It was this random calculation. Then we got it up to 12.
Well, it was 12,
Yeah, and then.
So it's something to think about. There is, I've been told that if it gets too high, nothing works anymore because
What's the state at, 12?
10.
it's
10?
10. We talked, I think every town plan says the same thing about purchasing available properties next to other existing town properties, which we've done at many of the schools, at Italy, Middlesex, I'll probably rattle them off. Homes, we did it. I think we've done it. Yep, the beaches, of course. So I think that's something that the town typically does, because no matter how much land you think you have, your facilities always need a little more room than you think.
Should we dovetail onto that, like habitual flood properties for the town to take over and like, not necessarily adjacent to existing town buildings, but properties we know will flood just over and over again? Should the town just step in and buy it and wetland it?
It's funny you mentioned that. Neil just wrote that in chapter 6, and I just proofread that paragraph
Perfect.
2 hours ago, in terms of the town having done that on 3 properties, one on Cherry Street, right over there, one on Crimmins, right over there, and one on Hecker.
Right.
So there's been 3 of them that we've done in the past 10 to 15 years
Yep.
in order to minimize future flooding, because all of those properties, right along Stony Brook.
Yeah, Stony Brook.
So,
The feds will pay a flooded out house once. They'll never pay it twice. So if you did pay it once and it floods again, it's on you.
It's on you.
But the ones that we did buy, it's people, they don't want to sell, but eventually it's really worth it.
tough
I
decision.
mean, we talked about that. The lot could be worth, $500,000, and it costs $600,000 to put sewers in it. That makes no sense. And Craig Flaherty, I think he's here, he's said that many times. It costs $8 million to fix 4 houses.
You've seen that stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly what I said.
Concept. But yeah, the concept is the town has to use its limited funds wisely and efficiently. And related to that really is similar to the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority in Darien really owns 2 properties. One is 719 Post Road, which is the Royal, which was redeveloped from 30 units to 55, and what used to be called Allen O'Neill, now the Heights of Darien, which was redeveloped from 53 units to 106 a few years ago. At this point, I don't think the Housing Authority owns any other properties. Certainly they continue to function. They're basically an arm of the state, even though it was cited locally. So they have spoken to me informally about possibilities, but I think the most obvious thing is take those 2 properties and expand off of them somehow, some way, whether they need more parking or expand the building or whatever it is, instead of just taking random spots in town. Something to think about as we determine where we're going with that in the future. One big success we had was, it wasn't just the Planning and Zoning Commission, 1921 Post Road, which is a building that next to be corner of Dickinson and Post, I think. Used to be Darien Design Center, used to be bank, and then designer. There was a house there next to what was Flaherty Plumbing, and the fire department bought it and put housing for firemen,
4 or 5?
3, 4, or 5.
Yeah.
And one of the requirements is you have to be a volunteer fire, and it worked out great.
Is there a legislative definition of workforce housing? And I've seen it appear in some of the bills in the short session.
We call that
Not
a
that I'm
workforce
aware of.
housing. We call that workforce housing by the state statute. I don't know if it actually complies.
I was curious what it
Yeah.
was.
Greenwich has got a ton of workforce housing, and it's zoned and qualifies for workforce housing. Not that it matters, because we're not necessarily chasing more dwelling points, but they do not qualify for any more dwelling points.
There just may be some new things coming up around workforce housing
I think
that.
we're
Yeah, that's
calling
the
it that, I
problem.
don't think it's the legal definition.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good idea, of like fire department, the police station.
Or at least understanding what it is and, you
Yeah.
know.
And I guess that's where the commission doesn't take enough credit, is being able to figure out ways to do these things successfully that many towns, cities are like, how does Darien do it? We get those calls all the time. How did you do this? What was the secret to getting this done?
Workforce housing is supposed to serve the public employees within your town. So you can't have a Norwalk fireman living in the room next to it.
Didn't we run into a problem though 2 decades ago?
Yes.
Right.
In terms of discrimination also, so it's,
Yeah.
it's a very fine line. right?
Exactly, and that's why the trick was the fire department bought it. It's not owned by the town of Darien.
Got it, okay.
So that is correct. It's a fine line and a little tricky, but, so it's kind of interesting that the fire department had enough money to make that work.
Hey, what about the one where the EMS people live? That's that colonial house that's next to the Royal?
Yes, that used to be the United Way building, 701 Post Road, that the paramedics, they turned into a paramedic building, and I think there is sleeping quarters there, is my recollection. But that's,
They're not living
They're
there.
not living
but yeah, there are, I think if we're doing an overnight shift or something like that. But that is, certainly that building, since the town bought it, and it was originally, for many years, a small office building, probably not much bigger than this room. I think the town's got to figure out what to do with that. It's what improvements need to be made to get that up to what, or is it, I guess the future of that building, does that use need to be there, or, and that's too big for this conversation tonight.
I think it's historically significant, but we can move on.
Yeah, and then, does it have any historic value? I know Steve and I have talked about the trees, I'll call it on the east end of downtown, I'll say in front of Heights Pizza, and in that block, have grown into the wires and have grown into the sidewalk. They're too big. They were very successful, they did their job for 40 years. We need to figure out what to do with those trees, because they are buckling sidewalks and growing into windows and wires. They'll have to be replaced with more appropriate trees that don't buckle sidewalks.
It creates a dark canopy,
Yeah.
which also affects property values. It's very dark on
Yeah.
that side, so it's bright on the other side.
So there is an opportunity there. We talked last week and the week before about park once and walk mentality, sidewalks, pathways. They don't have to be big sidewalk, just a way for people to say, oh, I'm going over there, I can see it, I'll walk it. Make it easier for people to get around instead of moving their car from Greaves to the sports shop. Model block standards, the brick, the granite curb, appropriate street trees, we use those only in certain parts of town, downtown, and in Norotan. Certain standards for lampposts, benches, lampposts, which can have the handles for the Beautification Commission, who does a really nice job with the baskets. I think for the America 250 event this year, there'll be little banners off the lampposts. You'll see that in a couple months. We talk about shared parking a lot, trying to get people to share parking so you don't have to over pave a lot here and a lot here. We talked last week about parking signage. I think all commission members were in agreement. We got to find a better way to direct people and say what's available, train station, employee, shopper. So, take a break there. If not, I can jump to, I think someone had suggested bringing up more of the items that came through with Neil's group meetings. Neil put together some great notes. So I jumped off that a little bit. This is line 59 on page 3.
Yeah, let's go to the commission first.
Yeah, go ahead.
We gotta get the talk. If you don't mind, Jamie, I want to ask Amy.
Yeah.
You go ladies first, or you want to go?
Yeah.
Maybe some arm wrestle.
George can get a second, he already submitted.
George-
Very
Oh,
formal
No,
memorandum.
I'm a
for the
ladies
commission.
first kind of guy, so if you're ready, Amy,
Okay,
fire
yeah, sure.
away.
A couple of things that I'd like us to kind of
Are you good back there, Neil?
Yeah, yeah.
discuss how it could benefit Darien is claiming certain buildings, blocks, areas as historic. I think that's something that we need to look into, and about if we how to use that as a lever in shaping our town or preserving our town. One thing that I also think is important in the POCD that I have yet to really get my comfort level with is a true traffic study that reflects what we are seeing now and what we are going to see after all of these new projects come online. I don't think we are addressing that elephant in the room, and what we hear from our residents as a huge pain point, and what we want to make sure we manage as best we can, not exacerbate it in any way with our development. I think we need to pay serious attention to that, because I think we're at a breaking point. The other thing that I'd like us to, and I don't know if this is for POCD or it's a broader development question, is all of the land that's in our town that is designated and controlled by the state, that's for I-95 and our stops off of I-95, how do we get credit for that in our planning with the state? Because it's a large part of, we're the town that everybody has to go through, has 2 stops on, and it's where do we get credit in that development for that? I'd like, and maybe somebody is looking into that, but that's something that I think we need
The
to-
excess land or just?
Yeah, just when you look at the percentage of Darien's fair share and all of these
Okay.
conversations that are happening at a state level, as far as contributing to the fair share of the common good for the state,
Yep.
well, there's a lot in our town that goes to the common good that's beyond the residents of Darien, and how is that in the calculus in the conversation? That's,
We're trying
and I don't know if that's a discussion for POCD or some other higher level conversation.
You guys have to do it.
But those are my thoughts that I want to make sure don't get lost.
Okay. Let me ask 2 questions. One is, we talked about it 10 years ago, and it was Bruce Hill was the guy who wrote about. The historic district you're talking about, there's a thing in zoning code by the state called the village district.
But like landmarking buildings too.
Yeah.
Like how do we, like there's some buildings, there's some like blocks that I think are, to the extent that whether you're changing a zoning reg for it, or you're landmarking it, is it a lever, is it a tool that we can be using?
The village district is most definitely a tool. We discussed it at notice in last go around, and that's what we do again this time. And we had a specific public hearing on that.
There's a section in the old one discussing it too.
Yeah, and we did not enact them. The street that was really targeted, I think it's Prospect Street. that
I'm
goes
also
from
thinking
Mansfield to
commercial districts too.
What a village district does, village district is for, and I will answer your question, is for residential. The commercial district is subject to ARB. So a village district is an ARB feature, it overlays ARB on top of those residential
Yeah.
houses.
And also, like for instance, the building right at the train station, across the brick building, that is an iconic building. And
Yeah.
I'd hate to see that go.
Is that the old, oh, you're talking about Wells Fargo, you're talking about the old
Yeah,
bankers, yeah,
yeah. Like that's an iconic building that we shouldn't lose.
right, I
You know,
100% agree.
things like that. And then just from the residential side, I do think from a realtor's perspective, there's a much bigger need for townhomes rather than apartments. Cluster housing, I think those are things that we need to embrace. I would personally wouldn't want to see the 20% coverage ratio change. I think that's an important thing. One thing that I think we can, when you talk about height restrictions, one way that I think we can maybe soften our height restrictions is not changing the footage, but in their definitions of the drip edge. The average drip edge is a really quirky thing that we do in Darien that no other municipality does. That's why you don't see doghouse dormers in our town unless it's a cape. You know, and is there ways that I think to maybe relook at some of those on the margin, changing some things.
With regards to the, I think what you're talking about relative to traffic study, you and I have talked about this a couple of, you're talking about the follow-up traffic study of where.
I'd love to see a traffic study to say this is what was predicted when Corbin presented and when Heights presented and Palmer's presented, and what are the actuals, and where do we, and then even the traffic studies that, you know, Neil referenced was, and maybe they're not available, was from 2023. Well, there's a lot that's changed since.
Or you could do New Road, because that's almost
What I would do, Jeremy, is that's a money thing. And I remember specifically talking to Michael Galante. I said, it's up to you. If this doesn't work, I'm going after you. And all the road ice is pretty much done. And now Michael Galante has been replaced by Horace Hanover. But I think what you have to do is in your budgeting plan, you know, I know this thing costs, the town plan cost development costs the town $150,000, right? And it's budgeted for 2 years. So if we want to do something like that, you have to budget it now to be able to come online at some point in time. Because we're not going to get, you know, federal Palmer's and Corbin, they're not paying for it. We got to pay for it.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
And it is like, you can't walk through anywhere in town without somebody talking about traffic.
Great. And then the last item, the fair share thing with the parking, there's a clause inside the 8002 that the town has to have 8% designated an affordable housing district, is that right?
Yeah.
It's 4% districts, but the question is 8% of what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Westport and Norwalk, their land acreage, and I have it in some of my reports, is like, for argument's sake, it's you know, 30 square miles. Of the 30 square miles, 15 is water, right? In Darien, there's 30 square miles, but you're allowed to take out parks, regulated parks, and undeveloped land and whatnot. Where the state land factors into that, if the state land is included in that,
Yeah.
then it lowers your denominator,
Yeah.
so your percentage.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
But
And I don't know the
that's part of what
answers
we're
to these
supposed to do
questions,
now.
but I think they're worth asking.
Yeah. No, 100%. Okay, thank you.
Also, I think adding on the parking capacity and how it has ended up playing out in some of the more recent developments, just because parking, with what you were talking about, the 8002 bill, that you know, developers will be able to come in with their own studies to justify whether they need parking or not, and if the town doesn't have any, to compare that to.
Yeah, because the state keeps chipping away at the town's ability to regulate certain things. Parking's one of them.
Yeah, the last thing I think relative to that, and your point, Jamie, is we gotta figure out if the parking is working. I mean, I hear stories all the time about Darien Commons, where the parking is a nightmare, and that people underneath don't use the parking garage. So I know Corbin's gonna regulate that. That's a landlord-tenant issue. I don't even want the town involved in it. But if someone proposes a parking garage in the future, we
Yeah.
can say it's gotta be designated for certain people.
I raised that point in the last meeting, was with regards to the app and understanding, is there analytics that we can understand? We build these parking garages and everybody wants on-street parking, and
I don't know if anyone's ever gone to the
Yeah.
Ridgeway Shopping Center in Stanford.
yes.
There's a humongous parking garage parked
Yeah.
next to it.
Mhm.
You could shoot a cannon in that garden that thing. People will go round and round and round for half an hour and wait for a parking spot and will
Yeah.
not park in that
It's
place.
like Home Depot in Norwalk. The first floor is super crowded. You go upstairs,
I've been here 25 years, I've never parked on it.
no one's there.
Don't give that secret.
That's, you're
Yeah,
good, right?
Gotta have an incentive, or that's it, nothing's gonna happen.
George,
No, go ahead, Biz, I'm,
All right.
go boy, go Brogan, how's that?
Okay, all right, well, let me plow through this quickly. The commissioners all received a memo from me over the weekend, because I didn't think I was gonna be here tonight. And it was also an occasion that they could get the eye rolls done while in the privacy of their own homes. And we could just, let me throw it out here now. I was picking up on Jeremy's two topics, and so I had one in commercial zones and one for residential zones. So my thought was, as I wrote, that I would like the POCD to plan for whatever changes are necessary to the zoning regs to ensure that any new buildings in downtown zones, including the central business, and design office zones, will not consist of more than 1 story of retail and 1 story of residences plus a roof. This would mean eliminating any incentives in that zone or those zones such for public spaces for 3rd stories. I want to prohibit construction of more buildings in the line of mixed-use buildings on the Post Road from Leroy to Brookside that might approach the size of the sports shop and the Corbin District buildings in 1020. A number of buildings along that line already have 3rd stories and others have 1 and 2. I think the limitation of 2 makes sense. 3rd story buildings bring more occupants. They reduce natural light on the street, and they become an imposing presence on the street itself. I just am picturing the canyon that would be created in the worst case scenario, in over 100 years or whatever it is, that more of those gargantuan buildings are created down to the railroad and then beginning in the railroad again. I don't know that we have appropriate restraint on that at this point. And when Darienites talk about the character of the town, they talk, of course, about families, homes, the recreational features, but they also think immediately of the downtown, looking at it. And it's a very pleasant area, though crowded, and it's used for multiple uses with attractive buildings. I think the character of the town is changing now to reflect the dominance of those large buildings, like the sports shop in Corbin District, with negative connotations such as crowding and traffic. So my concern is the growth of similar buildings on the Post Road, which would completely take over the character of the town. Such large buildings would also create, I think, insurmountable congestion if we're not already there. So that's my thought on commercial, and I'll throw out one more on residential, just thinking a little outside the box here, but what the heck. I'd like to see the POCD provide for a plan which would permit property owners in the 2-acre zone to have the ability as of right to subdivide their lot to create a 1/2 acre size lot and a 1.5 acre size lot. The 1/2 acre size lot would be required to create a 1 or 2 family residence, perhaps with an ADU, which would provide at least 1 unit to count toward Darien's number of affordable housing units. Such a new construction would need to meet existing setback, coverage, and access regulations. Such a provision, I think, would create a new value for the owners of the 2-acre sites, but it would also be a constructive step for the town to show its commitment to affordable housing and some sensitivity to the rest of the state, where they say, how do you get away with 2-acre zones? We're not going to mandate any change in that, but we would permit a change in that. So, those are my thoughts that I just wanted to lay out there. I appreciate the time. I don't know, all of this stuff is going to require some kind of consideration. I don't know what the plan is for that to happen, but
We make it 1/9 acre residential zone.
yes, you can do that. You can do that. Yeah,
Talking about the new
whatever we
housing
want. Yeah.
legislation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, state, I don't know if that's gonna pass, I guess that will be
Yeah.
where they said every 5,000 square feet, right, was it 5,000?
Yeah, 5,000.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, then.
The lot served by public water and
Water and
sewer
sewer.
plant.
Well, then maybe all this is for naught. But anyway.
Well, that's kind of the point that, just the main point I wanted to, that I'd like to see just some thoughtful planning around all of this and the expectations that are coming with the new legislation, what's been passed and what we're going to see passed in the special session, so that we can, plan to the best, for the parking that Steve was talking about, for the studies that we need, just some comprehensive planning where we're all involved, which I think should directly fall, under the conservation and development. So,
So with that said, I mean, Amy and Joe and maybe the hotel is, important items. When did we envision debating these things that we're spitballing right now?
Well, I think give you guys a chance to digest it. In the meantime, Neil is gonna be working on other chapters. I think he's got about 2, 3, 4 weeks till he gets to the built environment. He's working on community facilities and some other things. So it could be certainly something we circle back to next week.
The thing I want to do is talk about also best practices, and relative to like certain things like pushing for townhouses versus pushing for apartments. I think what you need to do that's been successful in other municipalities is incentives. Because you can go left or right. The reason why you go left is because there's an incentive to go left. Whereas going right, it's easier. But that's why we did 333, which is actually former 10 West Avenue. There was an incentive behind that. That's how most zoning codes get the developers to gear. I mean, that's to George's exact point. If you're doing a 3-story building, you have to give the town, you have to give the town a plaza. David Genovese and Glassmeyer at Grove Street, they got their 3rd story. They gave the town perfect service and apartment. So you have to bake some of that stuff. So I think that's going to fall on Neil.
Yep.
As a consultant. But that's good. You're still up if you want to add.
no, I mean, that's, what you said is, kind of falls under what I was talking about, that we just spend more time with the planning. Some of it's going to happen sooner rather than later, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure how it should be structured, but I assume you guys are.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because as we're here trying to address these things, the state of Connecticut can snap their fingers and say, well, all that good work you're doing, out the
So
window.
what we did 10 years ago with the town plan is we put all this stuff in the town plan as conceptual, which is what it is. And then right after the town plan was over, the consultant went further, and the first thing we did was signage.
I think we did signage and then commercial districts.
So we did commercial districts, and so the zoning code was changed after the POCD was passed.
There's a checklist, basically.
Checklist in the back, and it was a follow-up. And I think we got to a bunch of them. I don't think we got.
Municipal use, was that part of it too?
I think municipal use zone might have been, there were a handful of things that right off the bat, the commission recognized, oh yeah, we really need to jump on this. So that worked out well.
POCD was signed in July of whatever it was, 2016. I mean, we did the signage component in August, or no, in September of 2016. We rolled right into it. And a lot of the items in the POCD, last some of the zoning codes was from ARB. Because they were getting variance requests for 31 feet, for 21%.
Yeah.
They had to grant those variance requests, and that's why we
ZBA
changed
or
certain
something.
things. Did I say Airbnb? I meant ZBA, I'm sorry. Okay, you're good?
I'm good.
All right, I'm gonna leave John for last. Adam?
Yeah, so, I mean, everything we've heard tonight is pretty good. I agree, to kind of cue off Amy's thing, kind of 2 points is that we kind of all wanted to see, I think, some sort of like intensity of usage study with like some hard data. So I agree, traffic, we really don't have any idea of what current traffic is. We get a lot of these models with a lot of the years. We don't have right now. Sewer capacity is something that I think is also at or very close to max. But every time, I know Craig is here as well, there always seems to be like a little bit more capacity. So just an idea of where we are in sort of the sewers. And I do know, when we do poke down into the sewers, we often, and drainage pipes, we often find that they are undersized or clogged and need to be replaced, like right at Hindley. So I think that's important too, that we start thinking about that, because if we have the opportunity to dig these up and to make them bigger, I think we should take that. But that kind of dovetails into, we have the zoning enforcement officer now, that can issue fines and can do some stuff. I would like to see some way, or if it's possible to see some way of the ability after the fact for somebody, either as a condition of approval or some way to say in a year, was your traffic study right or wrong? As opposed to us just basically telling people, well, if you think it's wrong, hire somebody, complain to the police or the LTA and come back to us and maybe we'll figure it out. But some way to know, what's happening is being enforced. Because I think we tell people.
Would you envision teeth behind if they were incorrect?
Yeah, that's part of going into the enforcement officer. That you said you were gonna do something,
Stand behind what you
stand behind what you said, we approved it as a condition of approval. We're obviously not gonna tell you to tear down your apartment building
Yeah.
and replace it to a fresh meadow, that seems unrealistic, but there should be some penalty to get that right. Yeah, right? So I'm not sure how to handle that, but I think since the zoning enforcement officer is new to town within the last year, something to talk about it and what maybe we envision that role to be going forward. Because as we've seen, he's busy, right? It's not like we created this role and he sits around and throws his pencil up to the ceiling. I know Herb is busy with a lot of stuff in addition to that. That was the main thing. I have a bunch of other smaller things. Certainly when we do drainage analysis, moving the regulation up to 100-year storm or even higher, we're seeing obviously wetter, bigger, constant storms. It feels like some of the studies were already starting to peek into a couple 100-year rows on those things. I think if we're talking about the next 10 years, we're probably gonna have a lot more 100, 200, 400-year storms than we've had in the last couple of years. So I think potentially increasing that might be beneficial, which would, sort of increase obviously the amount of capture needed, but it would also facilitate drainage and neighbors' properties and impact. So I think, taking into account what just the environment will look like in the next 10 years is important for us. I'd also, I know it's coming before us tonight, and I only wish that Mr. Netter were still here, because I remember he was so befuddled as to why we were talking to the Board of Ed about parking spaces. I'd like to simplify the special permit process a little bit so that we're not hearing all of these things that seem to be just something that staff could approve. Does the town need 2 more spots in an empty parking lot to park some SUVs? Spoiler alert, how I feel about this, it shouldn't be before us, it should be an easy yes. And it should be, staff, can we do it? And they should say yes, and then that should be the end of it. So simplifying that special permit process just to sort of alleviate the stuff that needs to come before us. And sort of more streamline kind of how we're working. But that's basically it. Oh, and the last thing is, I don't know if we want to talk about encouraging or not encouraging commerce on Great Island, but the potential to think about what type of zone we would want to put on Great Island if it's going to have some amount of formal commerce on it, whatever that is. Could be anything, could be nothing. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I think that will need its own special zone, because I don't think we have a large park like that has public commerce. We have beaches and they have little snack bars, but I think what the town is envisioning for Great Island is a little bit more than like a little snack bar with a small kitchenette in it. So potentially some zone about what that zone might look like for Great Island.
How about a tiki bar?
Tiki bar is great. I know they have that nice building right over the water by the dock. I want to see
Tiki
it.
bar.
A restaurant.
Tiki. They have it at Rye. You drive your boat up, you whistle to the guy, he brings you brings a vodka tonica.
Right, so we should think about what Great Island should not what we want to put there or what type of commerce, but just to me I couldn't find a zone we have that would satisfy what maybe the Great Island is moving towards. So I think we're going to need to figure out what we're going to do with that, and then let them roll with whatever they want.
And I think that's appropriate, because I don't think there is any other site that has the confluence of conservation requirements and
potential
open
usage.
space and potential uses. So I think it does deserve its own zone.
So that's my 2 cents.
That is a process that the zoning for Great Island is a process we talked about for probably 2 or 3 years now. I personally think it's a 2-step process, but we can debate that another day. With regards to your one item with relative to the sewer commission, we put stuff like that in the last town plan conservation development and said, look at capacity study, and then it had a participant that was supposed to do it. And we said like sewer commission does this and Board of Selectmen does this, Board of Finance, Board of, so that's the same, you're talking about the same thing. We don't need to do everything, but there is a legit sewer commission.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a drainage commission. I don't know if
No.
they do the same thing.
Public Works covers that. In
And
terms
like
of
water
drainage
capacity and
studies.
whatnot.
Right, if there's a drainage project in town, which there is, and you might see it over the summer or in the fall, Public Works is hiring the appropriate engineer to not only design it, but an outside reviewer to review it and determine if it's the appropriate solution.
And then I think at the end of the day, it comes in front of us, we basically just bless it.
Yeah, it's gonna come back to you for whether it's work in the flood zone, coastal area, and/or regrading. Probably won't be regrading, but it might be,
Yeah,
or
I
just
mean, we could
municipal
charge the sewer
improvement.
commission with
Yeah.
figuring out total capacity, figuring out where bottlenecks are, identifying bottlenecks to fix. Right? When a developer digs up whatever, what's the road? Edgerton, you know, run the sewer line. Like, if we knew those
the
things,
water line.
or the water line, if we knew those things ahead of time, it would be nice to know. We could make them do it.
What was I say? That'd be good. That's
Yeah.
fine. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Sini.
So I'm just gonna dovetail on what was said and be very quick, but I think, one area we need to focus on, the ex-Board of Ed hat on, is community facility needs that we have, and the bus issue came up. We're desperate need for a bus parking lot, given what's happened in Greenwich recently when they changed their contract or parking on grass. So, prioritize that. I know Middlesex School needs renovation, and the high school, ironically, is probably about 25, 26 years now, right?
Yeah,
Old, so
right.
that's
Right.
coming down. And then falling out of that, looking at town demographics, 55 and older, we came close to looking into that in my previous term, but I think that's really important, just given the constraints we've seen in single-family housing. Back in the day, you could trade down from a 4 or 5 bedroom to an easy 3-bedroom. Now you can't. Economically, it just makes no sense. So we can facilitate that, and then tie in the demographics of, we really lucked out, or I shouldn't say lucked out, it's been part planning. All these new developments haven't brought in an influx of young school-age children. The town's been able to absorb it. Granted, we've built on 3 elementary schools recently, or they're about to be finished. But kind of thinking of all that, in one piece. And then, of course, Great Island is a white elephant out there. Helping the town figure out how to properly zone, so the town gets, maximum utility without disrupting the surrounding neighborhood. Again, in my former tenure, we kind of figured out the right mix with Highland Farm and applied the zone after the acquisition there. And I think we need to work very closely with the town and figure out what the right equation out in Great Island is.
We are the planning commission, so we're supposed to do all the planning. There's certain municipalities in the state of Connecticut could have one planning commission and one zoning commission, they're combined. So, and if you look at our agendas, I think there's a planning meeting every month, and there's a zoning meeting every month, and then there's a planning zoning meeting. So the different commissions meet. So it is our job to plan for what's supposed to go on Great Island. I mean, yes,
At least the zone, the use,
Yeah.
the use constraints.
they did have a master plan that was done, and probably paid a ton of money for it. We don't get paid a nickel. But we're supposed to plan it too, so that's something that we'd have to do in conjunction with those things.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. You got everything, Neil? We're good, right? Next.
Everything typed up, so, I'm good. I guess the question is,
Go ahead.
to kind of, I think we said we wanted to resume the conversation, is that correct, or?
Pretty much. I mean, I think if there's 7 bullet points or 8 bullet points out of it, because some people dovetail enough with other people, if we could drill down on those and then you can quote unquote report back,
Okay.
I think that would be great. I think like, I think the low hanging fruit is the 55 and over zone in a hotel, putting it back in. I think that's easy. Some of the other stuff might be a little bit harder. The traffic study, which I think was a great point, that's a money thing, because we can do that at some point in time. But you can't claw back now federal or Palmer's for argument's sake, you know, because that's ship already sailed.
Right.
But when another one comes in, you can claw back on another one. And how you do that, you know, I know in Manhattan, somebody built a building too big on 57th Street and they chopped off that top of it.
The other issue I didn't mention around the traffic though, guys, is, you know, just look to Norwalk and Stanford. I mean, and how much building's going on there, so what we're doing in town, yes, it's creating more traffic, but we're not the sole driver of that demand. That's the big, I mean, even down at Burge, you can just tell from just all the Norwalk development that's happening.
But the one thing you do kind of have to remember is some of the projects that were built, which are I would say the Federals and the Palmer's development and also Corbett District, there's so many restaurants in those projects and such big retailers and people. There's not another Darien Sport Shop in any place else. Yes, there's something similar that's in Greenwich and there's something similar that's in Westport, but all the restaurants, they want to draw from other towns. You know, they're not going to survive. I mean, look at Seymour's. Seymour's not going to survive on just people from Darien. It's already gone. It's already gone.
Seymour's is gone, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a great place now.
So the developers and the retailers know that their trade area is not a mile from their store. Their trade area is up to 3 miles. So with that said, that's why when you do combine retail and office and residential, at 7 o'clock at night, there should be no office workers parking their cars, you know, in behind 1020. That should be opened up for retailers and people going to the restaurants. That's the theory behind it. You can go over to Darien Commons. Most of the stores are closed at 6 o'clock, and the restaurants open at 6 o'clock. Or you get hopping at 6 o'clock. So there's a trade-off. That's the shared parking thing. We just have to make sure it's working.
Yep.
You know, so we're not going to put a moratorium on restaurants or whatnot, because the great ones survive. I mean, Malto is killing it. You know, but I was at one place the other day, and it was a breakfast type place, and the guy, I said, "What's going on here?" And he goes, "You know, parking stinks." You know, it's not our problem, but we still have to do it. So I think that's pretty much it, unless you want to do a wrap up of your thoughts, or no? We're good?
I think we're good.
So did I pose to Neil, when was it you were supposed to have basically the first draft of the whole thing, that end of April?
It was supposed to be in April. We're looking now at, I believe in May or June.
I think we just readjusted the schedule, so now we're looking at Neil finishing in mid-June, pushing back everything slightly so we can refer it out to the Board of Selectmen and the RTM. I think we looked at the first week of July and have a public hearing in September is kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah, I just sent the revised schedule this morning to Jeremy and Fred, and so they need to look at it, and we can share that with you when we come up with them.
Yeah, when we did it last go around, we didn't get, the entire 200-page book in one shot. We got 20 pages at a time.
Well, I'm just
And then they
looking at,
eventually stuck it all together.
yeah, I'm just focusing on his endpoint, because we do need to review all this stuff
Correct.
and
Yeah.
dispatch it one way or the other.
Yeah, that was the fine balance in terms of meetings like tonight and getting you guys stuff to review. So next week, you're going to have the environmental chapter to review, and then some chapters we expect you might want to look at more than once. So it's quite an iterative process. So it's sliding a little, but I think we're comfortable with the schedule as revised earlier today.
As long as it comes back.
Okay, then the next item on the agenda is on the town plan vision from the Board of Selectmen. Did anybody have a chance to read that real quick?
Yep.
Any quick edits to that, or it's okay as is?
They approved it.
It's their vision.
It's their
Edit
vision,
it.
yeah.
I
Right.
can edit
That's
it
what I
2
know.
days long.
It's their vision, but
See what we-
it's our vote to put it in or not put it in, the town plan conservation.
Ah,
vote against it.
I said that off the chief of police. So then you can either put it up front on page 2, you can put it on, buried in the middle, you can put it back. We can figure that out.
Let's think about it.
Agreed. But I think I'm glad they did it. It was adopted by them earlier last month. So any comments about this, we can go to enforcement. All right, good. All right, that's it. That's it for the general meeting at this time. Let's go into the public meeting, and we'll dive right into it. There she is. I see. First item on the agenda is continuation of public hearing regarding site plan application number 314, special permit application number 345, also known as PL 26-3, Darien Land Trust LLC. I live right next to it, but I can never pronounce everything. Piacentini Preserve, Piacentini Preserve, at 96 Hoyt Street. Proposal to remove the existing asphalt driveway and to construct a new parking area with 5 parking spots for use by the public for visiting the Piacentini Preserve and perform related site development activities. The 2.3 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the west side of Hoyt Street, approximately 140 feet north of its intersection with Echo Drive North, and is shown as Assessor map number 30 as lot 75 in the R1/3 zone. The hearing opened on February 24th. In our packets, we did receive a packet and a cover letter from Elizabeth Mathis, who I see is here tonight, and I think Greg Flair is going to do it. We approved this parking there 5 years ago, 4 years ago. They came 4 years ago to do it, and then never did it. This is similar to what they were doing there, but it looks like they're making it wider and more permanent, and maybe you're saving some trees. I think that's what it was. But Fred, let's go over with this.
They had some internal conversations with the planning and zoning department. I don't believe they
No,
ever.
we approved it. It was
Okay.
an application.
I don't recall that off the top of my head, but just to give you a quick overview of what's currently proposed, the applicant, the Land Trust of Darien, intends on creating a 6-space parking area in the location of an existing asphalt driveway on the preserved property. The project does involve widening the curb cut on Hoyt Street and paving a lot, which consists of a pervious pavement surface with gravel parking spaces. The Land Trust is making this improvement to open up this property to public use. Currently, any members of the public who wish to use this space are able to park on Heather Drive, or Heather Lane, I should say. To the west, correct. So this will create some additional parking spaces and opportunities for the public to use this space. The preserve is open from dawn to dusk. There's no lighting associated with the proposal. No trash receptacles included as part of the proposal. A total of 3 existing diseased trees will be cut and replaced with 5 new trees on the property. I should say the application has been submitted in conformance with sections 1000 and 1020 of the Darien zoning regulations under our site plan and special permit regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. Mr. Canis submitted comments for the record dated February 16th and March 3rd. In Mr. Canis's March 3rd memo, he notes that no further information was requested from the applicant. The application was also referred out to the Darien Fire Marshal's office. Bob Bush, the Darien Fire Marshal, submitted an email for the record dated February 11th, noting no issue with the application. Was also referred out to the building department. Mike Vitti, our building official, noted no issue with the application on February 11th. Just noting that an ADA space would be required as part of a parking lot, and the applicant has in fact provided that ADA space. And lastly, the application was referred out to the local traffic authority on February 17th. The traffic authority issued an email for the record noting no issue with the application. Tonight, Craig Flaherty, the applicant's representative from Redness and Mead, is here to present the details of the application and answer any questions you may have.
Fantastic. Greg, welcome. There you go. I'm not gonna turn my back.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Sir?
For the record, Craig Flaherty, Senior Engineer and Principal with Redness and Mead, a land use consulting company headquartered in Stamford. Here representing the Darien Land Trust with several representatives of Land Trust are in the audience tonight, including its Executive Director, Elizabeth Mathis, its Treasurer, John O'Brien, and Rockstar Chris Fulmer. So if you have any questions that I can't answer, they can step in. Hopefully, this is as simple as I think it should be. I'm much more comfortable in room 206 with the technology than I am here, so bear with me. But this is the what's known as the Piacentini Preserve. It's this property here, which up until 2017 had a single-family home on it, and that property and the home were gifted to the Land Trust. The home, which was up in the clearing here, was then demolished, and they've been caring for the property ever since, trying to turn lawn into meadow and transitional second growth forest. It backs up to Olson Woods, which is the larger one here with the lake in the middle of it. There is the old curb cut that served the home originally that's still there. It's got a gate across it now, and generally there's only foot traffic that goes through that entrance, including with me with my dog occasionally. So the proposal is to improve public access and utilize the fact that this parcel is adjacent to the Olson Woods parcel. And so this is, to give you context of size, since I was showing you the last thing. So this is that preserve area, and this is where the parking is proposed, aligned with that, where that existing curb cut was. You can kind of see that existing curb cut in the background. That existing curb cut's too narrow for two-way traffic, and the state wants to make sure we have two-way traffic here, so if someone is parked trying to get out of the parking lot, that they're not obstructing someone trying to get in, and there's no conflicts there. So this widens from about 16 feet to 20 feet today, so that curb cut will widen the same amount, and a little bit of that stone wall that's in front of the site will be widened by that same amount. These are
removed, right?
Yeah, removed. Yeah. So these are the 4 gravel spaces that get created with the requisite backup area, and this is the one ADA space that gets created. So these are crushed stone. This is basically the same thing we did at Highland Farm. We did the porous asphalt for the aisles and the ADA spaces, and we did crushed stone for the parking spaces. Same kind of format here. That's been reviewed by Ty and Bond, and they've signed off on our drainage numbers and how we've addressed Section 880 of the stormwater management regulations. The 3 trees are coming down are these crab apples, 1, 2, 3, and those are actually, they have kind of crab apple disease, cedar apple rust, I think, from the narrative, and will be replaced with at least 5 shade trees, likely red oaks and shagbark hickories.
Did you put X's through the ones that are coming out?
Yeah, on a different plan, on the S&E plan, there are X's.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
they're there. This is the second sheet, which is the sediment erosion control plan that indicates the tree removal. There you go, that one right there. Ding, ding, ding.
Got it, okay.
Huge.
And I think that's largely it. No lights. Most land trust properties are restricted dawn to dusk unless they have special occasions or special reason.
Just talk about the sight lines real quick.
We've already sent this up to the DOT for review, and they've already done their design review and signed off it. They're comfortable with the sight lines. Hoyt Street is straight in this location, and we've got about 524 feet to the south, and we've got about 715 feet to the north.
And it was a former house, so people could drive in and out.
Yeah, exactly. It was a curb cut then, so we're reusing existing curb cut. And like I said, the state road, and it's really the state's authority to whether or not to allow the improvements to this curb cut. So we already sent it to them for review, and they've already indicated that they're comfortable with it.
You good?
I'm good, unless you got questions.
Questions? Amy? I'm good. Al? I'm good. John? Katie? George? Would anyone in the general public like to speak to this application, Mrs. Mathis? You good?
I'm good.
Fantastic. How's your son?
He's great. Thank you. He got a 91.5 on his first college level econ course.
That's awesome. Congratulations. He was on my basketball team. We called him the chucker. He could shoot rainbows from half the court. Awesome. Anything from you guys?
Nothing.
Okay, with that said, I asked the general public. Let me say it now.
I could add more detail, but.
No.
No, we're good.
You're good.
That's your husband.
Specifically, in that general.
Okay, with that said, I entertain a motion to close. John makes the motion. Jamie makes the second. All in favor? We may deliberate on this tonight, Beth and Craig. Okay? We shall see. Next item up for the agenda is continuation of public hearing regarding special permit application number 60-T, site plan land filling regrading application number 121 G's and George, also known as PL 26-5, Country Club of Darien at 3 Mansfield Avenue. The proposal to expand and modify 2 existing tennis courts and create 4 pickleball courts and a single tennis court and perform related site development activities. The 139 plus or minus acres subject property is located on the east side of Mansfield Road, approximately 1,250 feet south of its intersection with Middlesex Road, and is shown on Assessor's map number 5 as lot 40 in the R2 zone. The hearing opened on February 24th, 2026. Mrs. Parsons.
Yeah, I'm going to recuse on this
Okay.
one.
Mrs. Parsons is a member of the club, so she's going to recuse. This is a tennis court renovation. I don't know why it really raises to the level of P&Z.
Well,
Are they adding a tennis court?
they're kind of taking 2 courts next to each other, turning one into 4 pickleball courts, but expanding the area around the other to a sufficient size that drainage is triggered as well. But it's,
There's other clubs in town that have pickleball courts. You may or may not know about it, but they do have it.
we're going to see more likely, but in this case, there is an expansion which Brett and or Craig will.
So we're changing the lot coverage from 0.6% to 0.61.
They can't do that as of right? We need to see this? Simplify the special permit process?
Mr. Flaherty, I think you're here. Oh, Fred, you want to go over it real quick?
Sure. The applicant, Country Club of Darien, is proposing to expand 2 tennis courts on the northwestern portion of the site to create, as was noted, 4 pickleball courts and a single tennis court. As part of the proposal, the applicant proposes to place a 12-foot high fence with acoustic paneling around the courts. The improvements will result in roughly 3,300 additional square feet of increase in impervious surface on the property. A new infiltration system is proposed under the court to mitigate the peak flows from the improvements through the 100-year storm. And then as part of this, the regrading permit is to facilitate the expansion of the courts to the east and south, the improvements resulting in roughly 165 cubic yards of fill and 60 cubic yards of cut. The application was submitted in conformance with sections 1000 and 1020 of the Darien zoning regulations under a special permit and site plan regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. Mr. Canis submitted comments for the record dated February 16th and 23rd. On the 23rd, he noted no further comments were requested by the applicant. The application was also referred out to the building department. Our building official, Mike Vitti, issued an email for the record on February 5th noting no issue with the application. The applicant's representative, Craig Flaherty, is here to present the application.
Fantastic.
Good.
Mr. Craig, welcome, sir.
Thanks, Chairman. Good evening. For the record, my name is Craig Flaherty, Senior Engineer and Principal, Redness and Mead, land use consulting company headquartered in Stamford, and we're here representing the applicant providing land surveying and site civil engineering services. Before you, also here with me tonight is the president of the club, Dan Baumgartner, and director of facilities, Joe Fallon, and Bill Ciriello, the GM. And anyone else that I missed? Oh, and sorry, Bill Nichols, the Rackets chair.
Thank you.
So they definitely can answer questions I can answer. But you see the aerial of the property before you. It's 139 acres. It's primarily a golf course, but it's got a whole bunch of other activities associated with it as well, including the pool, the main clubhouse, the 8 tennis courts that are on site today, the paddle courts that are on site today as well. So the 2 courts we're here to talk about are right there. And I'll show you the plan for what we're going to do with them. As many country clubs and racket clubs have been, they've been playing pickleball out here since 2021 for about the last 5 years. They're just playing on a hard, true surface, which is passable, but not really the way people like to play pickleball. And so the general purpose of the application is to create a paved surface on which to play pickleball so they don't have to play on the hard, true surface anymore. And to get the geometry right, we are slightly widening this 2-court enclosure to the north, to the west, and to the south. So it is getting a little bit bigger. We're here because recreational clubs like this are a special permit in the residential zone. This is in the residential zone. And basically anything they do different requires the special permit and approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So now we come down to really kind of the easy basics of what's a site plan application with a modest increase in impervious coverage. We're not changing the parking lot at all. We do have some landscaping that's going to come down on the west and north portion of the existing court, and a few trees on the east side of the court. And that's actually kind of a combination between the needs of the racket sports, but also the needs of the golf club in terms of which trees are staying and going on the east side there. But they are proposing to add a line of arborvitae on that east side. They're not only, trying to keep the racket folk happy, but they're trying to keep golf people happy too, right? So it's even a balance for them to get it all right. But the 4 pickleball courts would be on the left side of this space, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the part that would be paved. The east side of the court will remain a tennis court, and that will remain a hard, true surface. Now, hard, true is pretty packed down, but it's not fully impervious like the parking lot. So when we add a fully impervious layer to it, we do have some drainage increases, and we do have some drainage increases because we've got the additional expanded area. So we end up retrofitting these courts with a trench drain down the middle. So the water coming off the paved surface doesn't disturb the hard true surface, and it gets collected and put into this underground infiltration system, which overflows into some existing pipe networks off the east side of the courts. We are proposing some retaining walls to make the grade changes happen in a tight space, but we are more importantly, proposing a 12-foot acoustic paneling system that gets affixed to the fences and walls around the court. And that 12-foot height happens around the west, the north, and the east side of the courts. When we were deciding, should that be 8 feet or 12 feet, should it be on the west side, should it be on the east side, we retained the services of an acoustician to take a look at the sound for pickleball and to help advise on where that acoustic paneling should be. They actually said, basically, you could do a 10-foot panel on the west side and a 10-foot panel halfway down the north side, and you're fine. You'll meet noise ordinance requirements for daytime play at the property boundaries. But the court, again, because they're balancing a number of things, not only regulation, but how their other club members might feel about it, decided to go with a 12-foot panel system around 3 sides of the court. So they exceeded the recommendations of the acoustician, and that report is now in your record as well.
How tall are the trees or the bushes around the courts right now?
The existing ones, I mean,
the arborvitaes?
they're probably 12, 16 feet tall.
So this acoustic panel is going to be equal to or
similar in its at least shielding of what you might see otherwise. Yep.
And the fences, how tall is the fence around the courts?
The new fence?
No.
Or the existing fence? I don't know what the existing chain link fence. Anyone got a guess at that?
It's 10.
About 10 feet.
Okay. And there's a snack bar, clubhouse, or seating area between the 2 sets of courts?
No, this is just kind of an alleyway.
No, where the X's are, no?
No, there's nothing. We're going right
First
back
fairway.
over here.
Yeah, if you go back to the,
Go back to the aerial. Yep. The aerial keeps closing on me. That's good. Give me a second.
Yeah.
So, Steve, zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, it's
So this is the tennis pavilion here,
right.
and
It's the walkway, I guess, yeah.
there's just a walkway getting in here.
So there's no seating in there? Okay,
No,
got it. And so the tennis courts are going a little bit closer to the paddle tennis courts?
yes, they're eating up some of the space between these 2 courts. No, yeah, a little bit eating up some of the space between these 2 courts.
Yep.
Eating up some of the space between the parking lot and the court, and the parking lot and the court here.
Are you good? Can I pepper you with questions?
Go ahead.
Is there a change in membership?
No,
Is there traffic change going to happen to the property?
they're already playing. So no,
Okay, and there's lot coverage changes from what to what?
I don't even know. I didn't calculate it site-wide.
It's part of the stuff that's inside the special permit.
3,000 square feet divided by 139 acres. I'll give you the answer. Just give me a second. Just need a calculator.
Those are the questions that go in the special permit change. If there's no change in membership, no change in traffic.
It's not gonna make it more intense use.
Correct. Correct.
Change.
Let's see. 0.04%, 0.5% increase in site coverage.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Fantastic.
Happy to answer.
Jamie, any questions?
Yep, the sound assessment was impressive.
I didn't do it. It was impressive.
George?
Fine.
Adam?
I'm fine, I don't know why we're seeing it to begin with, but
It's a special permit for a conference. That's why it says, it's one
Maybe
time.
if you're below 0.05%, we can waive the special permit.
exactly. We couldn't
Everyone's
dig
on
up some
the
parking
J.
lot somewhere else, this way we could stay.
John? you
Yeah,
good?
we're good.
Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? Please, welcome.
My name is Liz Esbianski.
Do you want to just come up and be on TV?
Oh,
Do you
I
mind?
have to?
Yes. Yeah, you have to.
Really? Do I really have to?
Yeah, you do.
State your name and affiliation for the record. Okay.
You got cameraman right there, who's gonna get you on this
Okay.
face.
I would have done my hair differently if I knew I was going on camera. I'm Liz Esbianski. I'm a neighbor of CCD. We live in Keewaydin Association, which is a 5-home residential neighborhood that abuts CCD's.
What's your address?
364 Mansfield Avenue.
Are you the 37A right on that image?
My eyes are so bad. No, let's see. I can't see how that's going. That's the carriage house. Is that the main house?
No, I think you're this one.
One further up, that one right there.
Yeah.
37.
Yes,
Sorry.
that's us, sorry
That's
guys.
it.
Oh, there you
Can't
go.
touch this thing.
You can spell it.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. So I'm representing Keewaydin tonight. Some of the others would have loved to join. They were on the Zoom last week, but they weren't able to make it this week when it got bumped to this week. We've always had a long-standing, very positive relationship with CCD, with Dan and Bill and all the former managers. And actually 3 of our residents are members, active members of CCD. I grew up at CCD, my parents are members, my brother's family, so we have a long history with CCD. I think I'm here representing us just to say we do have concerns about the noise and how it will impact our neighborhood. I think we all purchased homes up there because Keewaydin's a special place. It's very tranquil, very peaceful, with beautiful views of the country club. And so we just wanted to express that we do have concerns on how the noise will impact our neighborhood. We met with Dan and Bill and the team on January 9th and had a really productive meeting. And we shared our concerns and also some ideas for noise mitigating measures that could be taken, which we were pleased to know this team already thought of all of them. They're on top of it. And they discussed the fencing with the sound-proofing barriers. We also discussed and asked if we could look at the hours of play and if maybe some restrictions could be put there if sound is an issue. Dan said numerous times, we don't even know if sound will be an issue. We hope it won't be. We have heard through the grapevine that the noise is an issue for people that live across from Cherry Lawn. And their houses, the front of the houses face the pickleball courts, our backs of our homes face the pickleball courts, and that's where, you know, in the evenings we're having, you know, quiet dinners out there. And when we've spoken to people that live close to pickleball courts, they've used the word, you know, mind-numbing for that pinging sound. And, you know, we know that the pickleball carries quite a distance, much more than the paddle ball, than the tennis ball, which don't prove to be an issue for us. So we talked about the fencing, which we were pleased to hear. We talked about hours of operation and could we consider putting restraints on that. You might be familiar with Weburn and the restraints they put on the shooting, knowing that that directly impacted the neighbors. So shooting at Weburn is only allowed Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And, you know, out of respect for the neighbors. So I think it's always easier to start with less hours and add than take things away from members. I think club members typically don't like things being taken away. So these are conversations we can continue to have. We spoke with Dan. We said, let's flesh that out as, you know, construction moves along, but that's something we'd love to have considered. And if sound proves not to be an issue, then maybe hours could be extended, but maybe it starts with something like a 10 to 5. We also discussed the utilization of quiet balls, which have a softer pinging sound. The team let us know that those don't play quite the same way, so we understand that people won't want to use those all the time, but maybe there's hours of operation where they do mandate quiet balls being used. Same goes for quiet rackets, which the team said that they're going to house the facility with 12 rackets and they could make those quiet rackets. Plantings and trees, we know that you know, arborvitae, a wall of arborvitae can do wonders for absorbing sound, especially as they grow in, or after they grow in. Right now there are some trees along the western side that face our home. We know they have to lose those once construction starts, and right now they don't see a way to fit trees in. It would be wonderful if, as the plans develop, if there is the possibility to put in some trees. We know that that would help undoubtedly. And we talked about booking the courts. I think one of the courts is quieter, the noise won't travel as far. So the club said that they'll start with booking that court always first, which we definitely appreciate. So I think I'm just here to kind of speak on behalf of Keewaydin and express that we do have concerns, but also thank CCD for understanding that we do have concerns and also being willing to discuss potential solutions to mitigate noise. So thank you guys for that. Thank you.
Just for the record, in the application, the hours are gonna be 8 AM to 8 PM. The pickleball will be available to club members. If that's what's in their application, so they are internally restricting.
Okay, so I don't know, Dan, I mean, we discussed if that we could flesh that out as we move forward in the process.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
sorry.
figure it out. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't worry about that.
So,
He's fine. If you want to speak, you can, but you
Yes.
don't have to.
yes, I'd like to speak.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
Why
Dan.
don't you come on?
Thanks,
Just introduce yourself. We don't, there's other clubs in town that have pickleball courts, and we don't regulate those in terms of hours. You're self-regulating. I can tell you that if I'm hitting my sand wedge on that fairway, try to get to next to the pin, and the paddleball and pickleball court is too loud for me, I would be pretty upset. So I think you're going to
So-
self-regulating.
Couple things. Dan Baumgartner,
Great excuse.
64 Hanson Road, but I'm here as president of the Country Club of Darien, and I thank my colleagues that are here with me. As Craig mentioned, we've been playing pickleball at CCD for 5 years. We've been playing at a court fairly close to the proposed court, and we haven't had any complaints about noise, and we've been using regulation equipment. So the second thing I would say is with respect to Cherry Lawn, the Cherry Lawn court, and I take the point that it's facing the front of the house versus the back of the house, and people don't normally gather in their front yards, they gather in their backyards or around the pool or whatever. But our proposed court is over 120 feet further from the nearest property line than the Cherry Lawn court is from its nearest residential property line. And to Steve's point, the board's tolerance and the management team's tolerance for noise is going to be greatly impacted by that guy hitting the wedge on the first fairway or the tee shot on the second tee. And so our tolerance for noise is going to be arguably lower than anybody that is contiguous to our property. So what we'd like to do is get permission to move forward with this without restrictions on time, because if the noise doesn't seem to be a problem, there's no need to have restrictions on time. And then we will work with our membership and we will work with our neighbors to make this work for everybody.
I mean, you're already putting the restrictions on time inside your application, so I think you're set.
Okay.
I live next door to Middlesex Club. They have tennis courts and a hell of a lot closer, and I've never heard of the pickleball courts ever. But, okay. Anybody else want to speak to this application? Thank you.
Before we close, can I ask Jeremy a quick question? Sound regulations, we haven't put any in, right? I mean,
There's a town noise ordinance, which Craig referred to, which is also referred to in the sound attenuation study that was submitted. So it was kind of interesting we don't usually see too many of those types of applications, as you know. So what's interesting is the way he designed it. He looked at the town's noise ordinance relative to that.
so, and yes, the ordinance level is, the sound is much louder.
It's like 200 or something?
It's like
No,
decibels.
no,
or-
it's during the day, it's 55 dBA.
Okay.
And your local ordinance mimics the state ordinance.
55 dBA is a very loud sound.
Yeah, I mean, it's daytime sound. It's almost daytime background sound. But what I'll say is this, and I think Dan's testimony aligned with it. And Adam, this might give you some reasoning, right? So the club has had a long history of working with all of its neighbors, and I suppose the incentive in that regard is not only to have happy neighbors, but because they always are proposing to do something different here and there, whether it's a new pool or a new course or a new court, and they know they're going to be back here for a public hearing, and they want to make sure they're bringing happy neighbors back when we get to this point. So there's a little bit of a self-policing system through the special permit process.
Yep. Yeah, that's what we see this stuff, so there we go. Anybody else want to speak to this application? We missing it? I know the commissioners, right? We miss anything, John, right? Okay.
No.
With that said, I entertain a motion to close the hearing. John makes a motion for a second. George makes a second. That's what I'm saying. Okay, all in favor? Oh, you made a second too? John, I didn't look at it.
Oh, give it to Adam, too.
Give it to George, it's good.
He's got 2 in a row.
Get it on the board.
Put
Some LeBron-like numbers.
All right. Next item on the agenda is continuation of public hearing regarding land filling regrading application number 598, also known as PL 25-123, Oliver Wilson Development LLC at 45 Old Farm Road. Pondfield regrading, filling and excavation in conjunction with the installation of a new single-family residence, pool, HVAC unit, and generator, and associated retaining walls and utilities. The 1.05 ± acre subject property is located on the north side of Old Farm Road, approximately 265 feet east of its intersection with Pondfield Lane, and is shown on Assessor's map number 66 as lot 94 in the R1 zone. Fred, what do we got?
Well, I can give you the summary on this one. As you can see from the submitted plans, this is a proposal for a replacement house. There was a house that was on the property for many, many years. The replacement house, which you see out there today, is nearly complete. It includes pool, patio, drainage system, retaining wall, and they have a shared driveway with a number of other neighbors, including the neighbor to the north at 45A Old Farm Road, 45 R for rear. There is a portion of a pond in the rear of the property. No work is proposed as part of this application in the 50-foot regulated area around the pond. The property is in the R1 zone. It contains a little over an acre. Joe Canis, peer review engineer from Ty and Bond, was brought in on this application to take an independent look. His reports were submitted as part of the record. Andy Simulidis from Land Tech is here to present the areas of regrading, the drainage plan, and other aspects of the application we can talk about.
Now, this is not an after the fact one, is it?
Well, I think in this case, there was a question early on of whether a regrading permit is required. And this went to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals believed that it was. And so Andy's here tonight to submit such an application.
Because the house is already built.
The regrading is not final and complete, no.
Got it, okay. Mr. Simulidis, welcome, sir.
Good evening. For the record, Andy Simulidis, owner and professional engineer of Land Tech out of Westport, with offices in Darien.
That's a neat title. Partner.
Yeah. So what I'm showing you here now is just the existing conditions before construction started. The lot comes off of Old Farm Road with a long right-of-way owned by this parcel to a about 1 acre parcel in the rear here. There was an existing single-family residence here, and as Jeremy alluded to, some other folks have rights to this road and access to their properties. Proposal was to demolish the existing residence and build a new residence, new driveway, pool, and associated site improvements. We received a zoning permit, then a building permit, and then started construction on this lot. Not to get into all the nitty-gritty details, there was an appeal by a neighbor when we went for our foundation as-built. The thought was that we exceeded our limits of our zoning permit, and it was appealed to the ZBA. The ZBA then said, come see you folks, because they believe this requires an exit fill permit. So here we are now, checking that box. Let me go to the site plan, which zooms in a bit so it's easier to see. So here again is that long driveway that brings you to the rear of the property. We'll start at the front. The existing driveway that services these properties, a portion of it is actually on this adjacent property. You can see it's tucked to the right, bless you. So we're kind of putting that central on that right of way now, just this little front portion. And then we did the necessary drainage improvements associated with that new bit of driveway along the front.
You own that driveway or somebody else owns the driveway?
The Oliver Wilson Construction owns that driveway, the current owner, 45. With others having obviously rights over it. And then as you get into the property, there's a driveway that comes off to service this rear lot.
It's basically a flag lot.
Yeah, it's essentially a flag lot, but this is a 50-foot right-of-way actually.
Wider than flag.
Yeah, So it's not really a rear lot, it's actually a right-of-way. So a new single-family house, the driveway comes adjacent to a driveway that services 45A with side-facing garages, a retaining wall along the back edge. We have wetlands here in the rear. This is our 50-foot wetland setback, so we did all our improvements outside that 50-foot regulated area to stay outside the wetland buffer. New patio pool, necessary drainage for all these improvements. There's also a gravel driveway here to help with the stormwater improvements. As you heard earlier, Mr. Canis reviewed this and gave his blessing. The site is serviced by onsite septic. The septic was approved by the health department. There was a permit to install. The septic has been installed. It has been inspected. So all that is in and graded. The property is also serviced by public water. In terms of the exit fill quantity amounts, the net was actually 35 cubic yards when looking at this piece of property. And then it became the discussion really, are we grading more than 25 feet as well from certain improvements? And those were the two exemptions we were looking at, and that's why I think we were issued the zoning permit originally. And we still believe this may still be exempt from exit fill potentially.
Where's most of the dirt coming out of, and where did it come out of?
Came out of the hole for the foundation, the pool, and then that was used to fill back here. So this was cut down and this was filled in. And then excavation for the...
Where is the portion that ZBA found that requires you to be here? Well, where exactly is this?
Unfortunately, I wasn't at that ZBA hearing. Mr. Maslin was there. Maybe he could shed some light on exactly what their ruling was and why they determined it. I think they just looked at it and felt like there should be an exit fill. Yeah.
There is some, and that's the bar.
They,
in this spot, and went up.
They might have just...
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a specific...
I don't think they pointed to a specific location or specific... No, I don't think that was... I think they just saw the overall plan and didn't want to deal with it. I don't know for sure.
35?
35 cubic yards.
That's the net.
The net, when you're talking about everything that came out of the site.
So what's the, I understand the excavation part. What about how much got taken out on the top? You took it out on the top?
So this is a cut.
Okay, how much is taken out of
there? So
there?
this is, so the total numbers.
So that's, just go.
There was like 1,745 cubic yards of cut.
On the north side or the whole thing?
On the whole site, this is the whole site.
Just
It's 1780.
Can you do it by portion? Because I don't care about the whole.
Or just roughly, hey, 50%
How many
of it was
inches?
here, 30% of it was
Oh, how
there.
tall?
Yeah,
Like,
how much did you cut it down?
yeah, so I mean, here is like a 4-foot cut in this area. So this is like a knoll here.
You cut it down for
So we cut this down, flattened it out, and then back here we're filling like 6 feet in the back.
It says 37 to 37, no?
Where's that?
Up top by the tree, there's this 37 lot line. I mean, a contour line, and then the new where the hard line is 34.
Yeah, there's a 34 here and that's a 38 at the knoll.
Where's the 38?
This knoll here is 38.
It says 34 is what I'm staring at.
34 is the proposed, 38 is the existing, it's kind of faded out in the back there.
So it's, you said 6 feet, that's 4 feet.
No, this is a 4-foot cut here
Okay.
and 6 feet of fill back
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah,
Again, in the back, there's a retaining wall,
correct.
which is, behind the retaining wall is the pool, and then the patio, and then the house. And then,
So you went
that's
from-
part of the drainage system as well, is in that fill area.
Correct.
So in the back, you went from 25 up to 33. Am I reading this right?
Correct. Yep,
So that's the 8-foot fill part.
there's 8 foot here, yeah,
Which
at that
you-
one spot.
Yeah, you filled the back of the pool. Right?
Correct, so we dug out here and we filled out around here.
Which is, we do that all the time.
Yeah. And this wall holds in all that fill.
Okay. I mean, yes, I would have.
And this is basically at grade. This follows this grade along the side of the driveway. There's not much grade change we could do. We're close to the property line. So this follows the grade down. the earthwork is predominantly in this area.
Okay, I'm not gonna overrule staff on saying it doesn't need it, but yeah, something like that we would have typically seen.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We would probably typically approve it too, but it's fine.
Well, here we go.
Yep, exactly. So the side to the north, it's not the north, it's the
East.
It's the west, isn't it?
North
On
is,
that side.
north is this way,
Yeah, the west side is the part where you're taking it,
is the cut.
right, where it's going from 37 to 34, 37 to 37. That's a 4-foot cut, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal. The fill is the big part, and the foundation is this.
Yeah, it's the foundation and the spoils from the pool that create
Yeah,
that.
that's why the net's so small.
Right.
So, I mean, we're okay, that, the north side is 4 foot, was a 4-foot cut, and the fill side in the back, where the pool.
6 to 8.
6 feet in the back, okay, got it. Okay, what else do we need to know?
Things outside of the exit fill and negotiations with the neighbor, we did add, you probably will see on our plan set, conditions of approval.
Time out 1 second, where's the HVAC and generator?
Sure. There's a pad right here.
Okay,
We do have, and this is what I was just about to get into, there's a row of hedge of arborvitae along this property boundary, along the top side of this retaining wall that kind of encompasses screening along this side. So this hedge is predominantly in. There's some spots that I think need to get finished, but this hedge is predominantly in, and we're screening all the mechanicals.
and the pad's at 32 feet, right? What was it?
Elevation 32, yeah.
It's elevation 32 now.
Correct.
What
What was it as part of the zoning permit?
Yeah,
32.
it was always 32, you didn't fill in that area?
No. So it was really this corner that was, in terms of what changed from the zoning permit to today, was really the corner of the property, where that corner of the wall returns, is what changed. So it was really this corner. This was supposed to always be 32, this was supposed to always be 32, and it's supposed to taper down to 30, I believe.
Okay.
Um,
What's that gray area?
And now it's
What's the-
32.
What's the gray triangle?
So this is an area to be graded. This area is actually in an easement in favor of 45A. And they would like to grade this area out, so we're showing some proposed grading here, again, outside the 50-foot wetland.
That's the same thing we did on that other one on Hollow Tree, right? They got subdivided, is that extra piece? Hollow Tree we drove way up, is that one? We did a subdivision, there's an extra piece that just sits there, there's nothing.
Yeah, in this case, it's owned by Mr. Wilson, but Mr. Self, the neighbor to the north, has an easement over it, is my understanding.
Okay, there you go. Okay. So there's not much grade change over there?
No,
It
it's
says
just some
on the-
slight
it says-
grading. It's really for drainage purposes, to make sure water is going this way and not this way, right? So that the purpose of this is to create drainage swales along this edge, pick up, some low spots here, put it into our drainage system and get this water going this way and making sure it doesn't go on our neighbor's property.
Where are the drains on that side?
On this side, this is just by grading, so basically a swale and slight grade and filling to get the water going this way. Similar here, there's a swale, and then here at this low spot, we're actually putting, it's like a perforated pipe to go into our gravel bed. So that's picking it up right at our property line. There's like this low spot that's going in. The previous driveway for this lot came off of here as like a U shape.
Okay.
And when we developed this, there was, this low spot that graded that. It's like during construction, we noticed that it's ponding a little bit, so we
That's
didn't handle
not,
that.
but that's not on your property, that's on the neighbor's property, right?
Yeah, but we're able to put the drain right on our,
Okay.
right at the bottom of our hedges there.
Okay, and then we talked about the HVAC equipment.
Yeah.
The generator, the HVAC, well, that pad says pool equipment, right?
Pool and generator.
Okay.
Generator and pool equipment here.
Where's the HVAC stuff?
They're right here. On the west side of the building is HVAC. Propane tank's buried up here.
Where's that?
Are you concerned at all about the distance between the propane tank? Because and the generator, this has to be the furthest one I've ever seen.
It's done already.
It's already done. That's it.
Well, it's fine.
And staff, do we have any regulations around a line that long to have like
Yeah.
a clean out or, you know, some way to get in, you know, because this line, I'm guessing, goes underneath the driveway at some regard, and this is a long propane line.
The fire marshal,
If you have something to say, just come up so I can
Yeah,
hear
he
you.
will.
Yeah, the building inspector would look at the propane line, the gas line.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
There's two permits, there's a
Put the tank in and
permit,
then the line
and there's a
in,
line
line set
permit,
in,
they're
yeah.
two separate things. And now the lines do not solid galvanized pipe for the most part.
No, they're those flex lines, right? But they're just smooth copper, so that, you know, underneath the driveway,
Right.
you can see that getting crunched through the winter.
Yeah.
But that's their
Those
problem.
guys- Those guys regulate.
Yep.
Okay. You good?
Yeah, I was saying there's
Keep going.
certain conditions that we impose upon ourselves.
Okay.
You'll see here on C1. So we just want to note those. I'm not going to read them or go
Let's
through them.
Let's just summarize them real quick for us.
Sure. One's basically a perpetuity hedge. The hedge that we talked about along the side of the driveway and around the mechanical equipment
Okay.
to stay there. The other one is grading adjacent to the driveway and that drainage that I was talking about, making sure it drains properly. That's kind of sums up that one.
And where are the hedges again? I'm sorry.
The hedge starts basically here,
Okay.
all the way down
Okay.
and around.
Okay.
So it's that hedge.
Okay.
And then lastly, I think it's, and this is basically handled by what you guys were just talking about, your noise ordinance and the mechanical equipment and making sure it's not louder than allowed. And obviously you guys know with today's technology, they're even quieter than ever.
Okay. So this is a proposed regrading and filling and excavation and protection of the exterior of the house. We talked about the residence and the pool, HVAC units and generator, and the retaining walls. And the retaining walls don't seem that big. It's like high, low is not that high.
The highest is 6 and they'll, you know, obviously taper back into existing grade. So the walls start here,
So they fade
go up
in.
to 6, 6 along here, and fade back down to 0.
So it's like engineered walls?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're in.
Is there anything on top of them so kids don't fall off the back?
You doing landscaping or
Plantings.
plantings to?
If it's a drop of 6 feet, does that put up a fence on top of it?
That would be the building
Building
official's call.
Building
And
code.
where's the pool fence?
Automatic cover.
That's still legit tonight?
It is.
That's still legit?
I have a fence going in.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Questions? John? Amy?
I'd like to see if there's, what the public comment might be, if there
Okay.
is any.
No lighting on the driveway, right?
No.
That would probably will bother.
Well, that's
I'll
what I
probably do some kind of landscape lighting at some later time.
As long as you work with the well, it's just right on the neighbor's property. It seems to be the issue. Is the only reason I would say, but other than that, it's fine.
George?
Covered more than I thought of.
That's why we're here, that's why we get paid. Jamie?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Okay, you good?
I'm good.
Would anyone in the general public like to speak to this application? Please, welcome, sir. Just state your name and your address and affiliation.
Do we do it
Yeah, right here, whatever. You gotta get on TV.
Yeah.
Take the cameras there.
Phil Piers from Corner Wolf. I'm a land use lawyer in Bridgeport, representing the Selfs. So we're in support of the application. We've negotiated it with Attorney Maslin and Mr. Similides. The conditions are as described. Just to clarify, it's planting buffer. It's mostly trees, but as Andy said, it's to be maintained in perpetuity, along with the 2 other conditions of approval. So we're in support, and just wanted to state that for the record.
Fantastic. Tell your partners I said hi.
Well, there.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to this application?
Joe Candace is here.
Give me 5 minutes of fame. Come on, Joe.
For the record, Joseph Canis, a licensed professional engineer, state of Connecticut, principal engineer at Ty and Bond, retained by the commission to review the application. We went out to the site. We've actually reviewed this in a previous iteration back in 2024, but I did go out to the site with the director and the assistant director on January 22nd to take a look at things and prepared a letter dated February 16th. January 23rd, and I had a few comments there regarding storm drainage, just some minor, having plans, matching details, that sort of thing, making sure the gravel driveway was covered in the stormwater operations and maintenance plan, and I'm happy to report all those comments have been addressed, so I have no further comments in terms of stormwater management.
Fantastic, thank you, Joe.
All right, you got it.
All righty.
I'd just like to say the new format of the letters is very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else, guys? We're good?
Nothing else.
All right, entertain a motion to close this hearing. George makes the motion, Jay makes the second, all in favor? Hearing's closed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
All righty.
Please.
That is it for the public hearing. Now next meeting is the general meeting.
Do you want to swap the superintendent before we keep her? Because they've got some careful.
All right, yeah, we'll do that. Want to do, can we, plan a motion to change the agenda? Let's move 35 Leroy up, and then Weber come down. One. Approved. All approved, fantastic. Next item up would be amendment to the business site plan number 281, special permit application, also known as PL 24-33, Darien Board of Education at 35 Leroy Avenue. Request to allow parking of an additional two Chevrolet Suburbans to be parked on site as part of the Board of Education transportation use. These additional vehicles would increase the total number of Suburbans on site from 6 to 8 vehicles. Fred, Jeremy, what do we got?
The Board of Education submitted this February 10th request for the parking of 2 additional Chevrolet Suburbans at the Board of Education property at 34th Leroy as part of the Board of Education transportation use as a result of the growth of their transition age school population. This request, the parking is in addition to 4 Suburbans approved in 2016 and an additional 2 Suburbans approved by the Commission in 2023 for a total of 8 Suburbans to be parked on the Board of Education property.
But aren't there additional other vans there? It's just, it's 6 Suburbans and a bunch of other cars. Technology car and are there those other things there?
There are a number of other vehicles. What we've seen, at least in my experience, is that parking lot, which used to be the Darien Library, has plenty of sufficient on-site parking for not only the employees, but the visitors, occasional school meetings.
Sports shop.
Well, the sports shops, weekends and nights, but generally it's worked out just fine. So as we've, through the years, added a vehicle or 2 every year or 2, it still seems to be working in terms of traffic, parking, and it's part of that Board of Ed's need to find transportation solutions for its various students going to all kinds of places.
Okay. Middlesex Commons is right next door. They're the buddy neighbor. Have you ever gotten in the last 10 years any?
No, I think when the original proposal came through, there was some concern. I have not heard any concern, because usually the case is 99% of the year, these vehicles come back during daylight.
Right.
It's only the rare day or situation that they come back with headlights on. And they're usually back by 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon.
I think it was the warming up in the morning. Was the
Yeah,
big deal.
and we haven't heard any issues or concerns. I know the superintendent's here, Mr. Rudel's here as well. They would, I think their constituency would not be hesitant to voice their concerns.
Okay.
They were at the last, to add in 23, they were here when we added these further, or expanded them. But they haven't said anything since.
Yeah.
It's not a public hearing, so we have to.
Right.
And just to note too, the big issue was the one-to-one parking, right? So the drivers of
Right.
the buses park in the spots that the buses take. So it's not that an additional parking burden is achieved by doing this.
So it's not going from 2 really forward.
Exactly.
You pull out
It's going from 2
Suburban.
to 2. You pull out the Suburban, you park your car there, then you leave and you do the swap in the same way.
Got it.
And I would say before, when we were talking about the town plan, the town's in desperate need of parking. And this is another,
Yeah.
this is a kind of a Band-Aid approach that they have to use.
You put more
The
on
economic, not that we look at economics here, but the economics of town by owning its own fleet are quite favorable.
Yeah,
Great.
At least in these cases, yeah.
Yeah, special needs, okay. I don't think we need the superintendent to talk.
No.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. Anyone want to make a straw vote to approve this? Adam makes a straw vote, Amy makes a second, all in favor?
Yep.
Fantastic. Done. Done. Easy. Piece of cake.
Miss you guys.
We're a lot faster than your other meeting. We don't have microphones and buttons either. All right, let's go back to where we were. Amendment to special permit number 15H as in Harry's site plan. Weaver Country Club at 410 Hoyt Street Road. Proposal to renovate exterior terraces and patio areas. Anybody want to recuse himself?
I should, I will, I am,
Mr.
but I'll stay because we have to deliver.
1, 2, 3, 4. We're 7 corners.
Yep, still have a corner.
Stay in the room.
Yep.
Yep, you sit right there.
So, Jerry Hoopy of Reno Wharton is here to discuss very briefly the proposal. It's basically an extensive renovation of the outdoor terrace area behind the main Weaver Country Club dining area. Basically, I would say, Jerry, starting from scratch, tables, chairs, patio area, enlarging the terrace, bringing it up to current standards, if you will. Part of that is some associated internal renovations to make it coordinate. You can see there was a letter of support from the Architectural Review Board in your packets. Their letter was dated December 2025. It's going to look really great. It's in the back of the building, so no one, I don't think outside of club members will probably ever see this area. Jerry's here to answer any questions.
They're moving a cart path, right?
I think they have to move it, make some small adjustments. Jamie has it here on the screen, and it's
Yeah, I got it.
it's really, you know, as Steve, you talked about it at the early part of the meeting, COVID and outdoor dining really is the thing to do, and you want to sit out here, watch people try to hit golf balls, and just relax. And
Heckle people coming up on 18. Not that I would know how that feels.
But yeah, it's pretty extensive. And it's, if I remember, Jerry, it's multiple levels.
It's currently 3 levels. It's going to retain
Yeah,
3 levels.
you can come up here. It's not a public hearing, but if you want to explain it, you can go see it.
I'm glad to see most of you have the renderings on there. It's currently 3 levels. It's going to be 3 levels again. They're quite old, so they're not much anything of there looks level or is level. We're increasing 100 square feet of impervious over 210 acres, so relatively minor from that standpoint. And the primary component of that is a handicap ramp to get you from their grill room down to the main middle terrace.
Okay. And you're moving a cart path, which is nothing.
Slightly up near their practice putting green.
Great. Okay.
That's the only spot.
Anybody have any questions on this one? Pretty straightforward, right? Okay.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's gonna look nice. I would entertain a motion to approve this application as submitted. Amy makes a motion. Straw vote, it's really another, right, it's a straw vote. 4-0, fantastic. You're all set, man.
Thank you very much.
Building permit, start construction for Springfield.
Thank you.
All right. You need to move stuff along.
Thank you.
Sweeney and George, come on back. All right, next item up. Deliberations and possible decision on the following. Flood damage prevention application number 387A is an apple, also known as PL 25-192. Shilpa and Kenton Rosenberry at 10 Holly Lane proposed to construct a pool and patio at the rear yard of existing residents and perform related to development activities within regulated areas, including installation of stormwater management. Hearing closed on this February 24th, 2026. For some reason, I don't really 100% remember this one.
You were in the car.
You were in the car. You weren't gone.
I don't think you made this
You were
one.
on
Yeah.
yet.
I don't think you were here yet.
You want to talk about it then, sir?
If you want, it was a pretty straightforward application to construct a pool on in the back of a house. There wasn't anything really major, as you can see from the Resolution, it's a pretty straightforward resolution as well, so there wasn't any oddities or really huge amount of work with this application.
Fantastic. All right.
Does anybody have anything
Was it the
they've
regulated area?
remembered? My notes on this were just said straightforward with an underline.
The only thing that I was of concern was the fact that they didn't get the fence through wetlands, the EPC, that
They
would go
thought
through
they
the
might have
wetlands.
to, yeah.
And if the pool cover gets repealed, they still have the ability to put a fence, proper fencing around it, and they, without having to go through wetlands. So after, that was the only concern I had.
Yeah,
That's all good.
but we have no idea.
Are there any questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors in the resolution? Okay. That's all I need. All right, motion to, look for a motion to approve as submitted. Adam makes a motion, A makes a second, all those in favor? One.
Looks like we got 4
Well,
nothing.
you got Goose on this side?
Well, she
It's a-
was early.
Oh, Amy didn't make say, I said Jamie, I didn't say
Never
Amy.
mind, never mind, never
Sorry
mind.
about that.
Jamie makes a second.
Is that four
4
yeses?
nothing. Yeah, 4 nothing.
I'm going to
4
abstain.
and 1
I'm going to
abstain.
abstain too.
2 abstains.
So 4-0-2.
Got it.
Fantastic. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Next item up is deliberations only on the following. Business site plan application number 54 B's and Boys, special permit number PL 25-143, Standard Realty LLC at 805 Boston Post Road. Proposed to raise the existing gas station and associated service building to redevelop the property with a motor vehicle service station with 6 self-service fueling positions and an associated 2,800 plus square foot convenience store and on-site parking. The public hearing closed on February 3rd, and the decision deadline is April 8th.
Steve, I'd just like to state for the record, I caught up on all the videos on this one.
Fantastic.
I'll participate.
John got all the videos and notes and filed them out. Thank you, Fred, for expediting that. In our packets, we received what I love, affectionately called the green sheets.
See, nothing.
You guys get those in black and white?
I told them to print them.
Oh,
Or asked them to be printed. You have copies?
Oh, we do have copies.
Yeah. I was like, we haven't seen them in a while. I wanted a green sheet.
Yeah.
Green sheets.
I can't remember did we have one from Thorndale? Might have been the last one.
I think, yeah, some of the bigger projects
Thorndale, I think,
usually
was the
kind of
last
help
one.
the
Yeah,
commission
yeah.
gather its thoughts,
I think that was the last
because
one we
usually
seen.
these are, it's not as simple as someone's
Yeah.
pool in the backyard.
Pool in the backyard.
And then we got this in our packets last week, and then we got an update
Today.
this morning. So, just to get everybody on the same page, ARB reviewed this back in October and approved it after extensive changes according to the ARB letter. The ZBA issued a report in July prior to ARB, where they gave them a setback in the back so you can get closer to the back wall, and they reduced the parking from 10 spaces and moved 14 spaces. The application calls it a total of 16 spaces, which was 10 in front of the building, and then it's 1 at each pump. That's all I got for the 16 in their submitted formulas. I'm going to get to it later, but as a note, that eventually got changed, and now it's going to be 12 parking spaces plus the other 3. Joe Canis and Stormwater Management signed off on the property, on all the development. That started in October and finished this last report in September of 2026. There's going to be a new dumpster for recycling proposed, and I think that is on the same side as the loading dock space, or the loading space. If my memory is correct, it's the same side as it's a
We'll
loading.
call it the eastern side.
Okay. We got comments from the fire marshal and all that stuff. The fire marshal and health department basically signed off on it, didn't have any more questions. We went over landscaping and lighting for the property. ARB approved that stuff. We didn't have much discussion relative to the lighting and landscaping in our deliberations. They are going to do the model block along the Boston Post Road, which is one of what we require, a strongly suggestion there. The parking latest site plan changed again. We did not, well, I'm going to get to it later, but they changed the site plan a little bit a couple times. And that all that lasts site plan is in the file. The local traffic authority sent us one letter in November of 2025 that we went over. A lot of the stuff inside the local traffic authorities related to the movements in and out of the property. They reviewed all the traffic engineers that was submitted by the applicant. Then the applicant made some changes to the site plan based upon the local traffic authority's letter from the police commission. The police commission then sent another letter dated January 20th in 2026 that was signed by Brent Hayes. They asked for a couple more items. The big thing that they really wanted was one in, one out, an exit entrance, which was against some of the applicant's traffic specialists or experts' recommendations, but they changed their site plan to do that. Then the second iteration was they went from 2 curb cuts on the post road down to 1 curb cut on the post road. Then there was also some back and forth between the chief of police and Jeremy talking about the traffic. They changed, it's a left turn, it's a right turn only out of the property. We did a very similar thing over at Trader Joe's Shopping Center, for lack of a better word. There's an island there that some people with big cars, not little cars, can jump over that left turn only little the curb that stops you from doing that. There's also something similar like that that's over by Brooks Brothers, and there's another one that's by Fairfield County Bank, and there's another one that's like that at Bank of America, where they have it there.
The new village director.
Yep. In this instance, the chief of police wanted a higher curb, so even if you thought about it, you couldn't do it without damaging your car. So the applicant changed their curb to make it a hard right turn out, and so you really have to mess up your car. The applicant at one point in time wanted an exemption for their fueling truck to be able to make a left out of the property to go back to, I guess, exit 13 or 14 or something like that. I don't know if that makes sense anyway. But with this new curb, the fuel truck can only make a right, so they're probably going to go down. And the chief of police, and we talked about they're going to go down towards Mechanic Street, maybe loop around, get on at exit, I think it's 14. No, maybe it's exit 12 going north, because the fuel trucks come from Bridgeport, empty the entire truck at the property, and then go back to Bridgeport, so they're not going further south. They could also come out of the property, make a right out of the property, then make a right on West Avenue, and then jump on the interstate at exit 10, which is over by my house. So that was taken care of. What else? We had a lot of back and forth with regards to traffic volume increase and safety and curb cuts. I just talked about that a minute ago. The timing of the traffic light. They want to take 5 seconds off of 5 seconds off of Cedric Avenue. Is that right? Yeah.
The common red, I thought.
They want to take 5 seconds off of off of the post road and put it onto Cedric, so you don't get stuck on Cedric. Some people have stated they've been stuck on Cedric multiple times. I've only been stuck there for 2 lights, but there's some people that thought they might have gotten stuck there 3 times. So the proposal is to ask the state to switch that. So we're going to do that. When we did this once before, there was a big thing relative to the traffic report with regards to trucks coming in and out of the property and fuel deliveries. The fuel deliveries for this will be only after hours. The store is supposed to close at 9 o'clock at night, and the applicant controls the time, the exact time that the fuel trucks would come there. So the fuel trucks will fill the tank after 9 p.m. when the store is closed and the gas station is closed. What else? Other small items. It's got public water and sewer, we know about that. It's an it's not unbranded station, it is a station, it's a gas station, it's gonna be a Shell gas station with a standard convenience store. The applicant, I think, one of their affiliated companies also has a standard convenience store, and the gas is Gulf, and that's the one that's on the corner of Norotan Avenue and West Avenue. And that's got the convenience store there, so it's the same thing there, so it's not quote unquote unbranded, it's not 7-Eleven, it's not Cumberland Farms, it's not Quick Mart, it's not the big national ones that you see. But hopefully someday this grows to a bigger company, you never know.
I would just add that the commission had talked about, and the applicant agreed, that if the branding of the gas station changes, it would need to come back before the commission.
Yes, yes. I mean, yes, they're allowed to sell the gas station and the property, which is standard course of business, and I see these things sell all the time. But if they want to change it from standard to a different thing and change all the graphics on the building, they have to come back. And they would have to go back to ARB and P&Z. The example I gave at the time, and John Barber saw on TV, was if Darien Hollow Tree Self-Storage ever wants to sell to one of the big nationals, which is Cube Smart or Public Storage or one of those, they have very specific branding that is also regulated in the same exact fashion that we would envision this one being regulated. What else do we want to talk about? There's 2 buildings there, they're knocking down one. The big concept is there's 2 buildings there, they're knocking down one, and they're going to move the new building to the back. The big item towards the end is the applicant agreed to reduce the size of the building. The concept was to take 6 feet off of both sides of the building for a total of 12 feet. And the building distance is about 35 feet deep, so that reduced the size of the building somewhere in the neighborhood of 408 square feet to 435 square feet, depending on how you measure it. The building, I thought the building would have shifted closer to Sedgwick and away from the other one, but I think we're going to keep it where it is, and the 2 additional parking spaces are going to be behind the loading spot for the employees back in there. So when you look at the building, it's going to, the left-hand side will say fixed because there's a patio seating there, which people from Starbucks might use and we might use, and then there'll be 2 employee parking spaces on the other side. So we still have 10 for customers out front. And like I said, the building size goes down. I think that...
I thought it was actually opposite to that. The parking spaces would be created on the Starbucks side.
No, it switched. Because the engineer came up and he did not, the ARB really wanted the ARB really wanted the seating on the Starbucks side. I wanted the parking space on the Starbucks side, but the ARB really wanted the seating on the Starbucks side. So that's why the 2 employee spots are going to be on the Sedgwick Avenue side, in front.
That was at the final hearing on February 3rd.
When engineers came up, right?
Which I remember because I wrote the minutes, and you're right, the engineer came up at the end and said, you would think it would be easier just to do it this way, but it only works this way.
Right.
And that was right near the end of the...
Right, he was the last guy to speak.
Exactly.
Right. Just going back 2 seconds, we're regulating the fuel trucks coming and how they come in and out of the property. We are not technically regulating the Pepsi trucks and the Frito-Lay trucks and the bread trucks. They'll come whenever they come, but there is a designated loading spot for that truck that blocks in the 2 employee parking spaces, which is fine. Those are what we call typical box trucks, similar to a Suburban or one of the box trucks you see around town for FedEx and those guys. What else? The hours of operation, I think, is a big thing. I don't know if that's on this piece of paper or not. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Proposed hours of operation are 5:30 in the morning excuse me, until 9 p.m. at night, 7 days a week. So it's gonna close at 9. The streets of Darien basically have tumbleweeds on them at about 10 o'clock at night anyway. I don't envision this getting very much people coming off of the interstate to come to this location. I think if you come off the interstate at exit 13, you're staring at 2 gas stations right there. And you get up interstate exit, there is no downtown at exit 12, there's an uptown at exit 12, but the big thing that relative to this location on Interstate 95, if you're going north on 95, there's a gas station that's a huge truck stop, for lack of a better word, going north. That's actually the highest grossing gas station in the country. And then I'm going south, there's one right after exit 10 that also has, I don't know, 37 pumps. It's got Starbucks, it's got, that one doesn't have Chipotle, but it's Dunkin' Donuts, and I know that very well. So I don't envision very much traffic coming from the interstate. So in my view of the application, the applicant did every single thing and then some that we asked for. So in my recommendation, I would recommend that we approve the application as submitted. But that will turn it over to any other people. I think these guys did a great job, and I think the applicant did a great job for this one. Let's start with Jamie, go first.
As I've asked Jeremy a couple times, my, one thing that we did not get back is we did not hear back from the LTA after their letter from January 20th, and all of their questions were not answered at that point. So we didn't receive a final.
They were not gonna write a final letter, and Jeremy was the last person that spoke.
Right, I did check, and the answer was, the letters are the letters. Now, again, I didn't hear from I heard it from Captain Udima, the LTA.
She's in charge of the local traffic.
Do we have anything to indicate that they're in agreement with what has?
The applicant did every single thing they asked for.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just asking
Yeah,
for the documentation.
You know what, that was my question, is, are we expecting anything further? And the answer was, no, you got what you got, and that's it. And then, because I also asked town council, can the commission continue to receive stuff from the LTA if the hearing's closed? And the answer I got from council was, no, once the hearing's closed.
Okay.
So that
not
was,
like a consultant or.
yeah.
Okay. George?
All good.
I'm good. Adam?
I do know the applicant has done a tremendous amount of work, so I applaud that. I cannot envision this being a net positive for the town. This is the block of traffic in Darien that is the worst and most congested. I appreciate the effort to try and make right turn only lanes in and out. I know for a fact that everybody ignores those completely, even with the curb cuts and the sidewalks. Turning left into this property off the post road, where 15 yards before is the worst left-hand turn into Starbucks, that causes enormous amounts of backup all the way to Trader Joe's. We're adding another ability to do that just feet after. I can't see how this helps the number one concern. Every public comment was against this, and unanimously every single person I've spoken to in town is wondering why we're gonna make the worst part of our traffic area in town worse. We heard it from the traffic consultant, who basically said, I know that Greg did a lot of work, but he basically said this is a maximum congested area right now with nothing in it. So if you put more cars on it, it can't get any more congested, and it will just ripple outwards. So I just can't see with the traffic situation that we can approve this, and that it will be, we talked about earlier, how can we say that the traffic study is accurate? I can't imagine that the traffic will be, it will only get significantly worse by adding this here. Particularly in that it will operate in the hours, right, where there is the most amount of traffic versus the opposite effect, where I don't have any concern at all about them delivering fuel after 9 o'clock at night. The roads are a ghost town, but from 5:30 in the morning, there's a number of landscapers that park less than half a mile away that will be now barreling down the post road and getting gas right there, and then jamming up the intersections when people are trying to get to train commuter parking lots, school buses are trying to get through. It's only going to make that area, which is already a pain point, significantly worse. So I can't see how I can approve this as it's been designed.
The only person that gave public comment on this was Rob Warnock. Is that
There
right?
were a few letters submitted, I think. I think
Right.
one or two people spoke at the hearing. Rob Warnock was certainly one.
Yep.
Maybe one or two the night we were in the auditorium, if I recall.
Couple
But there were like
letters.
3 or 4 letters.
There was the guy that lived on the street that wanted the
Said that,
sidewalk.
yes.
Yeah, he liked the idea of it. Okay.
I've lived in that neighborhood for 23 years, off of Mansfield. I have a lot of experience with that intersection. I now frequently go through that intersection in the mornings. So my personal experience is I've seen the pain points for many, many years. My concern is that when those pain points explode and go back over to the blinking yellow light on Mansfield, I think the behavior that degrades in that intersection, when people are waiting, I've seen some road rage incidents at that intersection through the years. I can appreciate what this applicant has done, but I can't get behind this. I'm a no on this.
You know they could open the gas station tomorrow.
I know.
The reason why we're seeing is because it's new construction.
Yep.
So they could open up the gas station.
I understand they can open up the gas station tomorrow, but the incremental volume that's gonna come from the convenience store, I'm not behind.
Mr. Seaton?
So you bring up a good point, and if I had the opportunity, I'd overrule ZBA's ruling, but I don't have that opportunity. And, it's disappointing because you pointed out the big issue. They enhance the property while also using it. So I now have to use ZBA as a lawful intensification, given their variances that they offered. And so I hear all the concerns about traffic. Unfortunately, though, the traffic experts came back and said it's not going to materially impact the traffic. So as a zoning commission, we can't use our day-to-day observations and overrule an expert.
Well, you can. You can.
I
You don't have, you can.
I can.
You can as an
Right,
authority.
You put the ruling at risk doing so.
100%.
I'll put it that way. Seeing all the modifications he did, I don't like the project, I don't like the use of land, I don't like the ZBA ruling, but I'm gonna vote in favor for it, so.
Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3. Jamie, where were you flying on this thing?
We're just deliberating right now, right?
Well, he's gotta write that.
You gotta write it out. You have to say.
Well, okay, so the other thing that I wanted to mention is the timing of the traffic lights, because it's not under our control. It can't be guaranteed. And so that's part of the LTA recommendation that we don't know if that will be met.
No, it wasn't an LTA recommendation, it was the applicants that were gonna try to go.
Yeah.
The LTA didn't care about it.
I think it was in response though to the concern about the fire department.
Okay, so what do you stand, approval or done?
I'm still, I'm considering what everyone has said.
Okay, so John's a yes, I'm a yes, George is a yes, Adam's a no, Amy's a no. So we don't know what you are.
And I guess I should state for the record, just because we all have expanded a little bit,
Yep.
and I've said it on earlier meetings, but I don't like this project either. I think I have said that and made it clear. But I did press to change the traffic flow that was first presented, and I believe they were responsive to that. And I think shrinking the size of the building was also helpful, adding a little more parking. So on balance, that's why I'm a yes.
Is there any recommendation from staff on following the LPA last letter?
I know that the LTA was concerned about backups, making sure that the things wouldn't back up to the fire department. I know they were concerned about the curb cuts and people making left turns out. I know that was one thing that came back. That was definitely one. The reduction of the curb cut, to me, was a little bit unexpected. We usually, in my years here, it's rare you would see someone reducing the number of curb cuts voluntarily.
Well, that was at the LTA's request.
Yeah.
And then the barrier not to go left is at the LTA's request.
Right.
The applicant did both of those.
Right.
So everything the LTA asked for, the applicant did.
Yeah. And then, of course, what you all acknowledge is, even if it does get approved by the commission, it still needs a DOT approval for whatever is done.
Right.
Although during the hearing, it sounded like they had done some preliminary talks with DOT in terms to get some feedback on, hey, are we in the right ballpark? Even though DOT will never give you anything for certain till they get local approvals. Because without going into a lot of detail, what would happen is people would go to DOT and then go locally.
Right.
And DOT was reviewing 3 times as many plans as they needed to.
Right.
So those are, off the top of my head, those are some of the issues that I recall. I don't remember. There might have been others, but those were the main ones that, without having the memo in front of me.
No, okay. I mean, in that case, I have to agree with our new commissioner, Sini, that, since our traffic consultant on a couple of different occasions agreed with the findings and ZBA gave their approval, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So staff write it up as an approval with, some of all the items we talked about, and then we can review it in drafts at the next meeting.
Yep, we'll get back to you probably for the March 24th meeting.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Next item up for bid is deliberations only, and a public hearing closed tonight. Do we want to talk about anything tonight? There's a couple of easy ones.
Hoyt Street.
Anyone care about the 96 Hoyt Street to put in parking spaces? Good?
I'm fine with that.
Great, okay, good. Country Club of Darien, pickleball courts. Hey, we don't regulate the sound of any other pickleball courts in any other club in town. There's no change of use, there's no change of anything. Good?
Yeah.
And they're adding those sound barriers too. I mean, if that works, you can see, my only concern is, if that works, there's gonna be a push for that at Cherry Lawn, because I know that.
There's not guys hitting sand wedges.
No, I know, I'm just saying,
10 feet.
the Cherry Lawn pickleballs, you can hear half a mile away.
Yeah, I hear them at my house.
Yeah, so if these do work, we could potentially use this as a model for what other people need to do.
Just for the record, I lived next to the Middlesex Road for years. The sounds of summer are the dudes playing tennis, and I would love it when I heard the tennis ball, because that means spring is here. So every time I heard that tennis ball, I was like, yeah.
Who lives next to Steve?
Yeah.
We got to approve a sports court in their backyard.
Well, they already have pickleball courts.
Then you'll
here.
see.
And then, do you want to think about more about the Olson-Wilson thing? I mean, they explained what they're doing. It was technically approved by staff in advance. It got appealed. He explained everything to us. Staff thought it was fine. Okay.
Yeah, but it's good.
Okay. That's it.
It's a long.
Chairman's
long
report.
protein line.
Chairman's report. I'm going to pass on the chairman's report tonight because John Cini's already closed his computer. Director's report. Anything you want to add, Jeremy?
Nothing to add.
Fantastic. I would vote to punt the minutes at the next meeting if nobody minds.
Okay.
Because I have to go home and do some work.
Those minutes are
John's really close.
They were both continuations of
Yeah.
They're basically nothing.
Yeah, they're nothing. You want to just go through? I read them. I'm happy to approve them without going through the minutes.
I'm going to abstain anyway. So.
Yeah, they're nothing burgers. They're
When I run meetings, I just want to make it clear that I ask people if they've read the minutes and then if they have any edits, and then we vote on them. We don't
you do your homework.
We don't need to read through the minutes.
You did it last right. I have to February 10th minutes in my head. Motion to approve. Looking for a motion to approve as submitted. Minutes of the 10th are approved,
I
and
abstained, Jeremy.
And one abstention.
and January 27th. Questions, comments, scribble reserves on this one?
No.
they're good.
Fantastic.
well.
Motion to approve as submitted.
Yep.
Jeremy makes a motion. Amy makes a second, all in favor?
Yep.
Minutes approved. All right, that's it.
Calendar.
Upcoming
Amy made the
meetings. March 10th, which is next
Next
week,
week, I think we're back here in this room,
and then we have a week off.
and then we have St. Patrick's Day off for us.
There you go. All right, we'll have a meeting at Fairburger instead. I will be presiding, and then 24th. No other things on the agenda, and I'm entertaining a motion to adjourn. John Cena makes a motion, gets on the scoreboard. Amy makes a second, all in favor?
Okay.
Meeting's adjourned.
I know.
Shit it out, shit